Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I am fine. Thank you very much. Happy Friday. Our gold got hammered, but it's really just the derivative, so don't worry. It's at 2,400 and silver at 29.21. You can see there's just been a lot of put options and very few buying. And I'm sure that's planned out. So keep that in mind. We had 2484, and now it's back down to 2400, which is still better than we were last week when we were at 2340 and 2350, and we finally hit 2000, then it goes to 2480. So you can't explain this as free market. So in other words, what you have is the intent of comex is not a free market. It's government manipulated. So this is what communism is and socialism. The government dictates prices instead of the free market. Now we have it in Rolexes and baseball cards, but this is the problem with gold and silver. It's the government pricing it, which is totally illegal considering we're in a capitalist system where it's free market. Why aren't we using free market for gold and silver? It's manipulated. It's just wrong and ridiculous. But we're hoping that it ends soon. It's funny. You listen to Mark McGuire and you listen to Alligator. They're both on today. And Mark McGuire's like, this is all over. This is done. And Alligator's like, well, it's getting near the end. The best days are behind it. It's still there. I mean, it's apples and oranges. Which one's right? How can they have two different opinions on it? Also, Mark McGuire says brics is going gold in October before the election. And Mark McGuire's like, and Alligator's like, well, it'll be introduced in October. Is there something wrong with Alligator? He's on somebody's payroll, but he's not acting in normal. I'm beginning to lose interest in him. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think he talks very high level Keynesian. He's talking about interest rates, and the reason for inflation is not in the printing of the money. It's in the debt spending. It's the deficit of the budget causes the inflation and the thing. What is he talking about? Just a second, my coffee's running. Sorry about that. I wanted to get the class going and then I put coffee on. So, I mean, it's very simple. Printing the money. You're inflating the money supply, which causes the value of the dollar to go down. What does that have to do with if there's a deficit or not? So if there was no deficit, there wouldn't be inflation. Alligators, I've really lost him. He was good in the beginning. His last few shows, I don't think he knows anything. I mean, he's sounding more and more like a Keynesian. Doesn't understand Austrian economics at all. Now he does think interest rates won't go down, which they can't because of the inflation, but he's still measuring inflation in percent, which you can't. And then he thinks he does think that the gold, will go through the roof, but the way he gets to it, what are you talking about? Really, really strange. So I'm not surprised I'm surprised gold went all the way down to 2,400 from 2,480. I didn't think there's a, and it's all derivative. So don't act like COMEX is anything than what it is. A price setting mechanism using options. That's it. I mean, it's nothing more. There is no market. There's no free market about it. That's why silver's at 30. Silver's 29. And gold's at 2,400. Because the real market is the Rolexes and the baseball cards. That's the real free market. You can see those values are much higher. And gold should be much higher as the dollars bleed out. And if you don't understand the printing of the money causes the inflation, then I really don't call yourself an economist. You're an idiot. All right, let's get to baseball, and then we'll look at Mark McGwire. He had a stupid guest on. Wasn't really impressed with him from that standpoint. Let me quickly do batting averages. So let's do batting averages together. So here's the batting average of the teams, the second column. So I'm just going to plug it in here. Houston, 262 from 265. So it does go down a little. Boston, 255. Up from 252. Minnesota's 254. Down from 255. Baltimore 253, down from 256. Kansas City 247, was 246, no change. The Yankees 247, was 248, so really no change. And most of these aren't going to change more than a point or two. So we're almost done even looking at batting average because it really won't matter. Cleveland, 243 from 246. Texas, 241. Down from 243. Toronto, 236. Up from 235. Tampa, 236 from 235. California, 235. That's what it was. Detroit, a whopping 234, up from 230, but it shows because they got rid of some of these 200 hitters, and now they got a bunch of guys hitting 240, 250. But that's good to know. I mean, they went from a for sure under team to possibly over team, or, a little bit better. Oakland, 227, up from 224. Yeah, if they keep playing the Philadelphia and the Yankees, they're going to go through the roof. The White Sox, 220, down from 222. How do you go down from 222? And Seattle, 219, up from 215. And I hate when it does that. Now we'll do National League. I really wanted to do the whole league at the same time. San Diego's leading off, 261. Philly, 259. Milwaukee, 255. The Dodgers, 254. Basically no change. Arizona, 254. Basically no change. The Mets, 250. They have been hitting. They're up from 242 to 247 to 250. St. Louis, 245. So overall, you're getting more batting averages from these teams. Frisco, 244. That's where it was. Colorado, 244. And I'm wondering, Colorado, I think this is the one team we need to do at home versus on the road. So I'm going to do that in a minute. Atlanta 241. This has been going down slowly. 240, 250, 244, 243, 241, which means they're only hitting like 210, which means they go from an A team more to an under team. They're just not hitting. Washington 239. That's the same. The Cubbies 235. Oh, they went up a lot. They were hitting 229. So you got to understand 6 points with all the at bats is huge at this time. There's 3,000 at bats. Miami 234 and Cincinnati 231 up and 225, so they're hitting the ball. And Pittsburgh 231 up from 230, up from 227. Now let's take a look at Colorado at home and on the road. Colorado at home is hitting 264. And away, they're hitting 225. See, that's a beautiful example. Colorado hits 244 average, but at home it's 264, and on the road it's 225. That's a very key variable. So I'll do it for all the teams, because the digger you dig, the more good information and variables you get. So now when Colorado's at home, you can see why they're 10 runs over. And on the road, their pop-ups aren't going for home runs. They're 225. So we'll do that later. We'll do all the homes and aways. It'll just take an extra 5 minutes, but I won't do it here. I'll do batting average another time. So let's go to schedules for today. So we're looking at 7-19, and Arizona leads 5-0 over the Cubs in the top of the sixth inning. One of these 2:00 games, but all the other games started 6:40 and later. So I wasn't going to do for one game that I didn't even like. Now this is how I'm going to do football class, right? What I just did, I'll do in just the free football. We'll look at the record. We'll look at how the quarterback's doing, the team, over, under, A or Z, how the quarterbacks look. We'll go through stats. Okay, so I'll keep it interesting. But this is what I'm going to do in football class. I'm going to go, here's the Phillies and the Pirates. The Phillies are -175, 8.5. We got Aaron Nola, 11-4, 3.38 against Martin Perez. 1-5 with the 5-1-5. We're going to take Philadelphia. So I'm actually going to give you the pick, and we will go. We'll go 3 units on them, and that's how it's going to work. So I'm going to go through the game. I'm going to look at the quarterbacks. I'm going to look at my line and their lines. I'm going to break it down, and then I will give you the pick in the class. In the free, I'm not going to go that extra mile. So this part, this picking is what we'll do in football, and we'll go game by game, and I won't play them all, just like I don't play them all in baseball, but you'll get my rationale. Nola's 11-4, 3.38. Perez 1-5, 5.15. Football will have a lot more detail because I have a lot more variables that I use, and basically we'll come up with, here's what I like. And then the difference is in football, you got to look at the weather a little bit. Where in baseball, if it rains, they rain it out, certainly snow. So you never really have a bad weather game. But in football, yeah, we've seen that a lot where you got real windy, bad weather games. So Here's the first teaser, boom, boom, boom. And then I'll give you a unit. And I might put it with the other team, I might not. I'll just say, here's teaser, teaser, teaser. And then we can go through the actual picks. We'll take San Francisco, take the Rams. That's your teaser. But we'll go through the games first to predict which side, is there a teaser there? Once we predict it, we will then go to the pick, and off we go. Okay. Cincinnati, Washington. Cincinnati 125, 9.5. Frankie Montez, 4-7 with the 4.38. Patrick Corbin, 1-9 with 5.57. Washington, Cincy. Yeah, it looks like it's an over with these pitchers. So we'll go wash over 9.5, but I'm not going to bet it. I don't. These are kind of weaker teams. I don't know what I'm getting hitting-wise. So it looks like because of bad pitching, and they don't have great bullpens, and they don't hit real well either. There's two bad teams. Tampa Bay and the Yankees. Yankees minus 175.8 in New York. Zach Efron, 5-6 at 3.99 against Garrett Cole, 2-1 with the 5.40, and he pitched really good in his last game out. He's been injured. He's starting to come back. This is his fourth start. He's well rested with the All-Star week done. So I'm going to go Efron 3.99, pretty good. Don't like to bet New York under, so I'm going to take the Yankees here. And I'll go 3 in it. So I think Garrett Cole is starting to get going, and he's a very good pitcher. Let's look at that ERA. I think he had one bad game. So he's pitched in 5 games. 4 innings, gave up 2 runs. Then he had a bad game against the Mets. 4 innings, gave up 6. Then 5 innings, gave up 1 to Toronto. 4 1/3 against 4 innings against Boston. And 5, he gave up 1 against Baltimore. So he's only pitched 4 and 5 innings. So we got to get to the bullpen, and the Yankees bullpen is pretty good. It's in the 3s. We got to update it. So let's just go Yankees here. I'm not a big Tampa Bay. Not a great bullpen, and they don't hit. So we'll go Yankees at home. Cole, maybe he goes 6 innings now. It's funny how he can go 4 innings. We don't want to hurt his arm. Well, he's ready or not? If he's not ready, don't pitch him. If he's ready, then let him go. Detroit at Toronto. Detroit's actually, it's a split. They're both 105. 7.5 over under. Jack Flaherty 6-5 with a 3.13 against Chris Bassett 8-7 with a 3.52. Detroit was hitting except for their last game. Getting games in Toronto. I think Detroit shot their what? I'm going to go under here. Let's go Toronto under 7.5, and we'll just go 2 units here. Here I'm basing the pitching, and that's it. One thing I didn't like about the All-Star game were the uniforms, and the reason is not only did they look stupid, you don't know who's up. So if you look at the Detroit All-Star, Ricky Green, the point guard from Michigan, up, you didn't know it because he's in this ugly jersey instead of in the Tiger hat and the Tiger uniform. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. Blending this socialism, everybody's equal crap, which is what sports are becoming, NFL and racism. Oh, okay. So if you put something in the end zone, that'll end it then. How about if we just called everybody man and woman instead of insert color and then our man? We wouldn't have it in the first place. So, that's the problem. I was watching the 71 All-Star game. Oh, there's Reggie Jackson. He's wearing an Oakland A uniform. Here's Pete Rose in the Cincinnati. Here's Johnny Bench. We're in the others. It's ridiculous because you don't know who's up. You're not differentiating. It's not individualism, and that's what capitalism is, and socialism is group. We want to be individuals. We're Americans. That's how we grew up. Anyway, so when the Tiger guy came up, you didn't have any idea. You just watched it. You wouldn't know who he is. You didn't even know, his name. I don't know what that is. So I couldn't go by name to say who half the teams were. And it really destroys the All-Star game like that, because that's the whole point. You're representing your team, but if you're all wearing the same uniform, you're not representing anything. All right, San Diego, Cleveland. Cleveland minus 167.5. Matt Waldron for San Diego, 5-8 with the 3.71. Tanner Bibby, 7-4 with the 3.77. Let's go under here. San Diego under, but again, 7.5. I don't like it to bet. Cleveland can hit pretty good. Cleveland hits 243 and San Diego's up to 261. So I really don't want to bet the under, but the pitchers kind of make it. So I'm just going to stay away. I don't have good matchups. The Mets against Miami. The Mets are minus 135.8. Sean Manaea, 6-3 with the 3.46 against Edward Cabrera, 1-3 with an 8.26. We're going the JETS, Jets here, and we'll go 3 units on the Jets. As Edward Cabrera, 1-3 with an 8.26. This guy's in the major leagues too? Okay. See, that's my point. There's not enough pitchers. So what you're trying to do is have 5 every 5th day the guy pitches, so you need more pitchers, and then you're going to the bullpen much quicker. Hey, Greg and John. So you go to the bullpen much quicker. Well, you don't have enough pitchers to fill your bullpen. You don't have enough major league pitchers. Then if you get injuries, now you're really going into the minor leagues. And there's a huge difference. I'd say each team has maybe 1, possibly 2 major league starters and maybe 2 in the bullpen, and they use 6 or 7. It's crazy. Okay, so we took the JETS, Jets. St. Louis at Atlanta. We had St. Louis minus 105, which means Atlanta's minus 105. Over under of 8. Sonny Gray, 9-6, 3.34 against Spencer Schwellenbach, 3-4 with the 4.43. Atlanta's hitting's gone down. St. Louis's hitting's gone down. Let's look at Spencer. Spencer doesn't even have his pitcher up yet. Poor guy. Oh, he's from Nebraska. And he's gone 7 innings once. He's had some pretty good outings and some pretty bad ones. So he gave up 6 runs June 5th, and then a 2 and a 1, and then 4 against St. Louis, 4 against Pittsburgh, and then in July 1 and 1. So he's getting much better. So I don't really like that. His ERA is really not 4.43. So we're going to go under in this game. St. Louis under 8. And I'm going to go 3 units on that. They had the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan, at the MC convention. Yeah, was he hanging and banging? Was Ric Flair there? Did they put on a little show? Was Mr. McMahon there? Because Donald Trump was on wrestling, right? He had this whole big thing, the billionaire match or something. Did Hulkster, did he talk? Was he in the red and yellow or the NWO? Was he Hollywood Hogan? Or was he like normal and just in the crowd? Or did he speak, take your vitamins and everything? The country needs them. Hell, if I was Biden, I'd have The Rock and Stone Cold do my speech. He could smell what you're cooking and all this in America. I'd rather have The Rock or Stone Cold be the president, because they wouldn't take shit from the Chinese and the Russians. And we need some new blood. These 80-year-old politicians to be president. It's fucking embarrassing, isn't it? All right. St. Louis, Atlanta under 8. Baltimore and Texas. Yeah, he ripped his shirt and spoke. Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, we needed Ric Flair going around wooing. That would have really made it if Ric Flair would have started to woo and like fake when he falls down and put Trump in a figure 4 or something like that. Imagine if he puts Biden in a figure 4, it'd be all over. The guy would be dead. All right, Baltimore, Texas, very good matchup. Baltimore minus 127.5 in Texas. Corbin Burns 9-4, 243. Nathan Eovaldi 6-3, 297. Here's our game. This is our best game so far. Baltimore under 7.5. And we're going to go 5 units on this one. That's what we're looking for. 2 ERAs under 3, but really good pitchers, Eovaldi and Burns. So I like that. The White Sox in Kansas City. We got KC minus 225, 8.5. Chris Flexen, 2-8 with the 4.82 against Michael Wakaka, 6-6 with the 3.83. I don't love this game anyway. We slice it. I don't really like it over, under, maybe Kansas City. Let's look at Waka the last 3. Linda McMahon was on, but not Vince. Where was Trump's daughter? Maybe they could have had a match between McMahon's daughter and Trump's daughter. Ivana. She's Ukrainian. She knows some moves. Jenna's pretty tough if you went into the ring with her. So let's look at Waka's last 5 games. Gave up 4 to St. Louis, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. So he's been pitching very well. So let's go Waka. Let's go Kansas City here. And we'll go 3 units. Frisco, Colorado. Kyle Harrison, 5-4, 408 for the Niners. Colorado. Now, Colorado, as we said, at home hits 264, 225 on the road. They're at home, so they hit much better at home. I guess the pop-ups go for home runs. Over under 10.5. Kyle Harrison, 5-4 at the 408 against Cal Quantrill, 6-7 with the 413. I can't go over with these pitchers. But they should, but we won't. The president of UFC was on. Yeah. See, now why wasn't Linda? Oh, well, Linda, that's his wife. I thought it was the daughter. Or why doesn't the son? Everybody likes the son. He's a businessman. Why doesn't he be like Secretary of Finance, the son? See, I would put somebody like McMahon and let him run the economy. Who better would run the economy than McMahon, right? I mean, that's what you need. If I'm going to be the president, there's no way I can manage everything because I don't know everything. I know my economics, but I don't know a lot of the other, like medical and legal and all that crap. So I'm going to have Vince McMahon be my Secretary of Finance. I'll have like Piper be my, Secretary of Defense. And I'll tell you, these guys, you would never lose an argument with those guys. Can you imagine Piper and Ric Flair? What are you going to do? You're the Chinese prime minister, and here comes Ric Flair. What are you going to do? He'll start wooing you and saying, "Look, I'm high flying Ric Flair." And he'll put him in a figure 4, and then we'll beat China. See, instead of going to war, just let the wrestlers put these guys in figure 4s, and that would be it. Or the Undertaker could choke slam them or something. That would be it. We'd win. That's how the wars should be, not the way they do them now. They used to have wrestling at the Trump Plaza WrestleMania. Well, yeah, that's there's a hotel in Vegas, Trump. I'll never stay there, but Jesse tells it like it is, but I don't know if he's a Secretary of State. But he's good, but I don't think he's into it. But he's not really going to wrestle you. Um, but I always like Jesse. See, Jesse, you want to be president because he tells it like it is. He's honest, which is what you want. Like he's going to say, "Hey, man, run for the hills. The inflation's 1,000%. You go buy gold." That's what Jesse would do. Well, we don't want to create a panic, so we won't tell anybody that they're about to go broke. Which is what you hate about government, right? Tell me what's going on. Why do you keep me in the dark? Well, we don't want to cause a panic. Oh, so you're going to wait till everybody's broke and then you're going to have a riot. Bangladesh had a riot yesterday or today. Everybody in the streets because they're going broke. Let's have massive inflation. Indonesia, massive inflation. Okay. LA and Oakland, I have Oakland minus 128. I can't imagine they're having bullpen pitchers after the All-Star game, so I don't know what's going on there. But I don't have pitchers. No pitchers, no picks. Houston, Seattle minus 120-7. Hunter Brown 7-6, 4.39 against Luis Castillo 8-9 with the 3.53. Seattle's favored. I'm going to go with Houston as a live dog, 3 units, just because Luis Castillo's 8-9 with the 3.53. Hunter Brown's okay. Over under 7, I don't know what to do with it. Seattle can't hit. Houston's the better team. We're going Houston. Actually, Seattle's the better team. Let me take that back. Well, record-wise, Seattle's 52-46. Houston's 50-46. But I'd say Houston's much the better team. And last but not least, the Boston Red Sox and the LA Dodgers. Dodgers are at home, 125, 8.5. Nick Pivetta, 4-6 with the 4.18 against Gavin Stone, 9-3 with the 3.26. We're going over in this game. Boston over 8.5, and this will be 3 units. So this is what I'll do in football. So in class, we'll go through the games. I'll give you the picks, tease it with this, do a 5-team teaser, do a 3-team teaser. And you'll ask your comments. It'll be live. And that's how the class will work. So we'll go through the games just like So this would be the class. If it was a baseball class, I would go through the games, give you my picks. So that would be $25, but you'd get it Wednesday. There's a Thursday night game for pros, and then Sunday morning, and then the Sunday games. So that's how it's going to work. But in this chat, I won't go into the picks. I will go into the games. I'll rank the teams, the quarterbacks, how are the new guys doing, any new running backs, and we'll look at the line, and we'll look at Philly, Baltimore, KC's 3.5, whatever, 40. KC's 3.5, 47. Lamar against Mahomes, and that'll be what we talk about in the regular class. But you're not going to get the pick on the game in the regular. You're only going to get the pick on the game by going to Teaser King and buying the picks, or by going to the pick class, which I showed you yesterday. And let me show it to you again today. So here's the website, Teaser King. There's the homepage, and what a teaser bet is explained, and then purchase picks. So we go into purchase picks, and you see all that. And then on the bottom, it's college picks YouTube class 25 and pro picks YouTube class 25. Now, the advantage of this is if you want my pro picks for a week, it's $75, which includes the locks. Now that you'll get the picks, and the same thing for college. College is 75, or both for 100, or you can do them both here, and it'll be $50. It'll be 25 and 25. I know some guys just want college, some guys just want pros. But if you don't have time to watch the YouTube, now the pro picks shouldn't take long. I can see getting through the picks roughly in about 45 minutes. And then so I would do the Wednesday class and then Sunday morning. So if I have a teaser, let's say here, Baltimore KC, and I play a teaser with the Sunday, then I'll of course talk about that. So you do get a little discount, and you get probably two classes, right? You get a Wednesday, Sunday morning class, and a Friday, Saturday morning class for college. So it is a little discount versus the other one. So that's another way to look at it. But if you just don't have time, look, I'm traveling, I'm this, I'm that. I just want your picks, which a lot of people just want the picks. Then they go in, purchase, then you would purchase probably this one for $100, which is both, you get all the picks and all the locks 1 week for 100. Really, the most popular is this one, the both pro and college and the locks for 4 weeks for 300. You can buy just the college or the pro for 2, but for 4 weeks, 3. So this is $75 a week versus the 100 versus 75 for 1 week. So this is usually the best option, or this one's very good because this is the whole year and goes all the way to the Super Bowl and the college playoffs, and that's $750. But that's up to you. I get a lot of whole year because it's the best. And by now you know me. We know Mahomes, right? We know KC. We don't have to watch him. We know strong defense, Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, Andy Reid. We got it. We don't really need to see anything new on them. You know me by now. Either you've come to the conclusion I can pick or I can. And I think you've come to the conclusion I know what I'm doing. And therefore, that I get a lot of where they buy the year just because of the price discount. And then I usually get monthlies, a lot of monthlies, and they roll it over. But 3 monthlies is $900. You get the whole year for $750. So it really doesn't make sense to do the monthlies. So anyway, that's what you do. So you get this. I get an email that you purchase college or pro picks. Bobby, what's his name? Bobby Bonilla. Sorry, Bobby Bo, I get, and then I do the class. And when I come here, I say public. When I go there, I'll say private, and then I type in his email, and then he comes on to the class and he can get in and watch the video. We'll have to test it, but that's what should happen. So, if I get 5, 10, 25 people, whatever, I normally get about 75 who watch my normal weekly pro football, like Super Bowl. I got like 100 people that watched it, but I gave the pick in the video. So anyway, so that's what you do. So it's 25 college, 25 pro. So it's 50 a week, and then I'll do 2 classes. So college, I'll do a Friday night and then a Saturday morning. And pro, I'll do like a Wednesday night because there's the Thursday game, and then I'll do a Sunday morning. We're always updating. The spread, the weather, the injuries. So that Sunday morning is very critical to see about it. And college is a lot of Saturday, so we got to do Saturday morning, but I'll probably do Friday because there's so many games. So I'll go through them Friday. Wednesday's a little bit early for the pros because of they're not all healthy yet until Friday usually. So I'll try to figure out, maybe I'll do it. I have to do Wednesday for the Thursday night game, but maybe I'll just do the Thursday night game. And if I tease it, and then maybe do do a college and a pro class Friday. I would do a Thursday night for college, but everybody will be watching the Thursday night game, which is really what screws me up. So Friday is good. I get all the information and there's no games, so I could go through both. Saturday morning for the college, we're looking for line movements and injury updates and any other picks, and then Sunday for the pros. But normally I post my pro picks Thursday or Friday anyway. So I'll have to think. Maybe I'll do it early Thursday instead of Wednesday. Then I can give more good information. Anyway, that's what we're doing. That is the bottom line. So that's our baseball games. We got Philly for 3 units, Washington over 9.5, but I didn't like to bet it. We got the Yankees 3 units, Toronto under 7.5 for 2 units, San Diego under 7.5, but no bet. The Mets for 3, St. Louis under 8 for 3, Baltimore under 7.5 for 5, KC for 3, Houston for 3, and Boston over 8.5 for 3 units. So that is today's baseball. It's been weird. What I find interesting here is after this long break, I still don't see a lot of aces going. Like you would think, okay, everybody's going to go, they've had 4 days off. Everybody's going to go to their ace. This is the second I'm writing to Alistair. Okay. Well, first I'm going to show you my comment. Then we're going to play some of his. He's just wrong. There's my comment. It's a big one, not a baby one. Alistair is getting confused. He's showing his lack of skill in Austrian economics, sounding Keynesians. He doesn't understand inflation, which is printing of the money, not deficits. Shake my head. 1795, the British dumped counterfeit money in France to destroy the franc. BRICS will start the gold-backed currency in October in Russia. Your info is incorrect, the professor. That's about as blunt as I could be. So Let's start with this ownership and debt. So, what you guys have to realize, I'm telling you to get out of paper because if you stay in paper, anything paper, you're going to lose everything. Now, there's different reasons. The most reason is because the dollar is going to zero. And when the dollar goes to zero, that is the end of your banks and your stock market and everything else. As the inflation hits, the stock market goes out, right? Because it's priced in dollars. The companies won't have money sales because who's going to buy an iPhone when you don't have when you got to eat? So all these big companies will their sales will lose. They think because the stock market's good, people have confidence in the dollar because people just don't understand gold, right? So since they don't understand it, they see, oh, it's a good stock market, therefore everything must be doing good. Oh, the government's doing well. Yeah, but it's misleading that the stock market is not. That's probably what Larry Fink's doing. He's running to these other countries saying, no, you got to buy stocks. Yeah, so all the other countries can go broke too. And then the other thing is when they do get in trouble, that you don't own your stock and you don't own the money in the bank. All that is theirs. You bought 1,000 shares of Microsoft and you can sell it, but when it shit hits the fan, you're not going to be able to get it back. Sorry, we needed your shares. So this is what he's going to tell you. You don't have ownership in your stocks or in the money in the bank is not yours. It's the bank's. It's the Bank of America's. I also heard 292 banks are in trouble, including Bank of America, which doesn't surprise me. Most of it is from these defaults on homes and autos. So if I lend you money, and so I lend you 100,000 for a car, or or I loan you 500 grand to buy the house. So I'm going to charge you 10% because I don't want to get it paid back in inflated dollars, which are dollars printed, not the deficit. And you basically you want to get paid back, right? Not in inflated dollars. I know I just repeated that. I lost my train of thought, but I got it back. So what happens is I'm expecting this money back. I'm expecting to get paid back. And then all of a sudden they default. So all of a sudden the guy says, you know what? I can't pay you. Inflation's too high. All my other costs have gone up. Excuse me. I've lost my job. I don't have money. So guess what? I'm not paying the mortgage. And what does the bank do now? The banks lend out $500,000, which they can't get back. So they then take ownership of the house. What good is that? How are they going to sell? Now they're going to be home sellers? No, they're a bank. And if they don't sell the house, they still owe property taxes on it, maintenance on it. They got to keep the lawn cut if they want to try to sell it. Pay for the heat and the electricity. So they have a lot of cost but I'm expecting you to pay the 500,000, or for the Camry, I'm lending you 30,000. Based on you got good credit, you'll pay me back. And if you don't, then the banks, they're going to lose because they're not in business to sell the house and the car. They're banks. And so that's the other problem with it. So we're going to see all that money come in. All right, let's listen to Alligator talk about ownership and debt systems. It's very weak. He's repeating everything he says. And he still doesn't get it. It's not gold going up, it's paper, it's the dollar going down. And then the guy asked him point blank, but how about all the demand for gold? And he's kind of like got him like, well, yeah, I guess that does, right? So how much more? So when gold hits 2480, the dollar went down more. And then when it goes down to 2,400 now, did the dollar go up? It makes no sense. He's talking gibberish. I don't know. I can't stomach Alligator much more. he comes across, he doesn't explain anything, and he's really wrong. He's a banker. He's not an economist. He doesn't really understand. He talks at a high level, like a Peter Schiff, like a Rick Rude, like a Rickards. They don't know, and that's why they can't explain. They talk at a high level because nobody's going to understand them to say they're right or wrong. That's the problem with these guys. They don't know what they're talking about because they can't explain it yet, but I can, right? So I'm the only one that gets it, I guess. So let's listen to Alligator.
Alistair, we've all no doubt heard about the great taking, whereby shares you own are ultimately in a default situation. They end up belonging to the clearinghouse, who is the primary creditor. So do you see this as a risk at this point worth mitigating for in these times where there's so many of these, existential risks to the financial system?
Well, yes, I think I would encourage anyone to actually understand what credit is. I mean, if you, let's say, own shares in a corporation, then that is credit. Even if you've got a certificate, it is credit. I mean, you think you've got ownership. No, you haven't. What you have done is you have bought into something, an obligation. You have acquired an obligation whereby the management of the company promises to deliver you a series of dividends or accumulate income on your behalf as a share.
He's talking about if you own stock. I don't know why he can't just say that. So what he's saying is you think you own the shares of the stock, which means you have ownership in the company, which is what you have. That's the definition of a stock. So he's saying they changed it.
Right. This is credit. Worse than that, this system, which has been brought about in the name of efficiency or whatever, whereby you don't have a certificate anymore. You've just got an entry on a sort of combined register run by a clearinghouse, in effect. That is an extra layer of credit because, technically, the clearinghouse now owns all the certificates, as it were, and it has to you an obligation. It's an entitlement. It gives you an entitlement. So it's got an obligation to deliver that entitlement to you. So you have got two layers of credit between what you think you own and yourself. This is pig on pork. It really is. Now,
don't know what that means.
The reason this has been done, so far as we can see, is that the clearinghouse then has a pool of securities which it can access because it will still have the obligations to everybody. Yeah, because they've got the certificates of entitlement, dematerialized certificates of entitlement. It still has the obligation, but it can take its ownership, if you like, of the credit in the form of the share certificates and use that as collateral in the event that there is a crisis within the system, within the settlement system, a crisis that would presumably arise from something like a global systemically important bank going belly up and not being able to deliver on its obligations in the market. That's what that is about. And this is...
So let's try to understand what he just said. So all these people buying Amazon really don't have shares in Amazon? Is that what he's saying? Well, they have shares, but they're really not theirs. They're this clearinghouse, probably JP Morgan. So all these people with all these shares in Amazon, if there's a problem, so let me get this right, when the central banks collapse or some other big Deutsche Bank or JP Morgan or somebody collapses, Goldman Sachs, they're gonna use that money and not give it to you with all these people in Amazon. So the people in Amazon who think I own it, or Luke, if he wants the gold stocks, and you try to sell it, they're gonna say, no, it's not really yours, it's ours. Man, that seems really let's believe them. I have heard that the shares aren't yours, but to me, it's much simpler when the banks start when the dollar, it doesn't matter when the dollar crashes, you're all fucked anyway. But he never uses that scenario that, by the way, the dollar is going to zero. So all of the shares will be worthless. He doesn't talk about that. I'll have to add that into the comments. So it sounds like you think you have shares of stock, but you really don't have the share of stock. If you say, I want to sell it, they're going to say, sorry, we took it. Just like at the banks, you got your 200,000 in the bank and you go in and say, I want my money. They say, sorry, we don't have it. It's ours. That I do know. That's called a bail-in. They're not going to give it. It's not really your money at the bank. This is all just fucking crazy, right? This is not your money at the bank. It's not your stock that you bought. What do you mean? So you got 200,000 in Chase, and then Chase is starting to explode because of these interest rates that people aren't, the houses and cars that people aren't paying on, and they're not getting their loan money back. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to steal your money. Sorry, your 200 grand. It's our money legally. And that's what you have to worry about. That's why I don't want you in banks. The only safe haven you have is gold and silver because it's in your hand. Nobody owns it. That's what they mean by whatever that word is, a third party risk or something. Just call it what it is. It's yours and it can't be printed. So if you have it in your hand, nobody can say, no, you can't have it. And the government's not coming after it. The government will get their money when you sell it, they'll tax you. That's why I advise when you want to buy the house, you use the gold for the house. Then you just sign it over and then off you go. 2 ounces of gold, I bought the house. And that's what you're looking at. But the banks will not give you your money. This is the problem because the bank's going under because nobody's paying their car loans or housing loans. And they're counting on this money. Well, wait a minute. I have all this money over here. That's Howard's and Luke's and Nick's. And I'm going to take that money because legally it's not their money. It's our money. Now I got 20 grand in there. I take the 20 grand out. I can get the 20 grand out because it's not at crisis yet. Again, we have to think 5 steps ahead of these people. You must think like that. All right.
I would say something which you should worry about, certainly. And it's another reason to just get the hell out of credit. That's my view anyway.
Is that, just in some ways another form of a bail-in?
Absolutely.
That's not necessarily, tied directly to your checking or your savings account?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably a bailout. Well, it's a bail-in, bailout. It's not quite the right terminology, but I know where you're going with it. To which the answer is broadly, conceptually, yes, because they're taking something that you think you own and deploying it in another way. I mean, this is something that also happens with ETFs, so far as we can see. I mean, particularly the gold ETFs, which is another reason why I wouldn't hold an ETF, because all you've got is a credit. You don't actually have the bullion. You've got an entitlement to it, but that entitlement can be moved into other hands. So you can have 2 owners of the same entitlement. You don't know.
So that's why I tell you don't be in ETFs. It's the same thing. You think you own it, but you don't. Other people are also thinking they own it. And guess what? Nobody's getting it. So if you buy an ETF, so that's what I don't understand when these pensions, he says, well, the pensions will buy ETFs. Why? Why wouldn't they just buy gold? I mean, I'm sorry. If I'm GM or Ford or somebody, I'm buying tons of gold. And then I don't even need the cars anymore. I just hold on to the gold and I'm all done. Why risk it on the economy and me trying to sell cars to nobody who wants it with high interest rates and huge inflation where the money's worth anything? And I got, I got a ton of gold. I'm Ford. I got a ton of gold. Business is over. GM. That's it. That's how if I'm the president of any big company, we're all done. Take our money, buy gold, buy silver, And okay, everybody, it's been nice working with you. There's no need for you because there's no need for the company anymore. We can't lose. We have a sure bet with gold and silver. Maybe we add a couple of Rolexes to it. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And you'll be filthy rich and you have no risk in the portfolio. And to diversify, you buy Maple Leafs and the Philharmonics and the Eagles. I mean, that's all I would do. Why fuck around with these running a company? You'll be fine. And, in about a year, you'll be fine. So again, that's why you don't own ETFs. That's why you don't own stocks. That's why you don't have the money in the bank, because you don't really have it. The only thing you really have is the gold or the Mantle card or the Rolex. But you want a lot of gold because you need it to buy things. Like if I have the Rolex and it's that $1 million Rolex, let's say it's $100,000 Rolex. Okay, I want to go grocery shopping. I got to sell the Rolex for money. But with gold, I don't need to sell anything. I have the money. So I take a step away of already having the money and therefore not needing to do that first step, exchanging the gold for money or the silver in that case. Anyway, so that's the point. Why you don't own stocks, why you don't own money in the bank, just a little bit, and why you don't own ETFs or IRAs, that anything that you don't physically have the gold for, run away. And that's my point of buying the physical. Nobody can take it away from you like they can your bank and your stocks and your ETFs. Oh, I got 100 ounces of gold in the ETF. Okay, try to get it. Well, they won't give it to me because it belongs to 1,000 other people. Because Rick Rude and that other guy who runs the ETF are a bunch of fucking Madoffs. You really don't have it. How these people are allowed, or Sprout, how Sprout and Rick Rude are allowed to be in business and not in jail, I don't understand it. And Rick Rude, he talks in Chinese where he's like, nobody knows what he's talking about. So he doesn't know anything. Because if you know, you can explain it like I just did. If I didn't know it, I would talk upper level and you wouldn't have a clue what I'm saying. What would be the point of talking to you? TK Bobby is going to run for, okay. Thanks, Greg. It's important information we're
certainly
talking
about.
It
certainly happens with authorized participants, as they call them. Shorting the stock, borrowing the stock so that they can deliver it into the market, going along to the trustee and encashing their sale, as it were, into bullion, and then taking that bullion and deploying it as they see fit within the market. So, what's happened? What's the integrity of the whole system? That's just one example. But you are right to draw everyone's attention to this. It's a very, very big risk, which nobody, except very, very few people, really do understand. And it's all, in order to understand it, you've got to understand what credit is. Everything works on credit. We don't do anything with money. I mean, by money, I mean gold or silver. You don't go and buy things with gold and silver. You hoard it. And in times of trouble, you hold more of it.
You collect it.
When everything's going tickety-boo and lovely and all that, you don't need to hold it. But that is not the situation now. I mean, we're looking at a situation where higher interest rates will destabilize the entire Western financial system. Destabilize it, I think, really at some stage very, very dramatically.
Mm-hmm. So even if we hedge this risk by, let's say, buying physical property, let's say for now we're excluding gold and silver and metals, is there still really a reliance on this credit that you're still not escaping?
Yes, of course, because how do you value your property? You value it in credit, in dollars, Canadian dollars, pounds, whatever. And the proof of this was really dramatically shown in the collapse of the paper market in 1922 to 23. property became virtually valueless in real terms, apart from anything else, because the cost of maintaining it was worth more than the property itself. So that was one consideration. The other consideration was that a property might be valued at a few trillion Deutschmarks, but what is a few trillion Deutschmarks? Probably a loaf of bread and not much more. And that.
See, so they're using my Titanic example without realizing what they're talking about, right? So the Titanic is everything, is the dollar is the Titanic. So you get out of all dollars. Stocks, bonds, houses, cars, they're all going to go to zero because they're all valued in dollars. That's the point. So the money in the bank, the stocks, your house goes to zero, your car goes, because there's no value in the dollar anymore. It's gone. That's the point of it. And they don't quite, he's starting to get it, like, oh yeah, don't value anything and get rid of all you can't buy a house or land because it's valued in dollars. So what's the value going to be when the dollar goes up? So basically it's gold, silver, Rolex, and Mantle cards, because the Rolex will always, it's sort of like a house. Even the dollar, it'll go out in dollars, but it'll maintain a value in gold. So anyway.
So the distortions from a collapse of the value of credit is total. I mean, it just wipes out.
So what he's talking about in credit, he's talking about money. Again, why doesn't he just say money? This is fiat toilet paper. So he's calling this credit. He's confusing everybody. What's credit? Nobody knows what credit is. This is credit. Why don't you just say money? Why don't you just say fiat dollars? So that's, again, very confusing, making it harder than it should be by just saying it's your fiat dollars, which are going to zero, and everything valued in it will go to zero. So the only thing you can hold are gold and silver. Why don't you just do that as a simple answer to the guy's question?
It wipes out the middle classes. It's an enormous burden on the lowest in society. Pensioners, workers with no savings, and all the rest of it. I mean, it is a catastrophe.
Why? So why does he say middle class? It ain't going to help the poor. It ain't going to help the middle class, and it ain't going to help the rich. What's the rich going to do? They own a $5 million house. It's now worthless. Warren Buffett, $2 billion. Guess what? It's now worthless. It wipes out everybody. It's not the middle class. This is why I say he's starting to sound like a Keynesian, where they're putting the finger on the middle class. And if you start saying the rich and the corporations don't pay taxes, I'm going to throw up. But what is the middle class bullshit? Very Keynesian.
Talking about is not going to be any fun whatsoever. But you do need to protect you, yourself, your family, and to a degree, those around you from that situation. Mm-hmm. I think it behoves anyone to take a responsible view of how likely is this collapse of credit going to be?
100%.
What can I do
buy
to
gold,
insure against it,
silver,
in effect, which is what we're talking about. I mean, you can't go to an insurance company and do it because the insurance company might not survive. But, the insurance basically is to have sufficient gold and silver to see you through at least the initial stages of this.
Mm-hmm. Well, Alistair, as we see this, move in the world towards backing some of these systems and even some of these new currency systems with physical gold and silver, how is the BRICS Alliance growing right now? And what are the next steps to the progression or the evolution of this alliance?
Well, yeah, I mean, the history of this essentially starts with the Russians looking at how to construct a new trade settlement currency for BRICS. Originally, it was Sergei Glaziev who was appointed by Putin to look at this problem for the Eurasian Economic Union, which basically were the stans, if you like, Soviet Union stance, if you like, between Russia and China and North Tibet. Glaziev actually wrote a paper for a Moscow business magazine called Vodomosti. This was about nearly 2 years ago now, where he made a very, very strong case for putting the ruble back onto a gold standard. So we can see which way his thinking is going. And last year, ahead of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg, there were very, very strong rumors put out via RT, the Russian television service, and also by the Russian embassy in Kenya, of all places, that they were going to put this new gold-backed currency on the agenda for the BRICS meeting in Johannesburg. It didn't actually make the cut, and it didn't make the cut, I think, because China didn't want it at that stage, because China could see it would destabilize everything in the West, that is. And furthermore, India didn't want it. So you're talking about the two most populous nations, if you like, in the BRICS system. So that was put to the side. It is, however, the indications are that it will go on the agenda for the BRICS meeting in Astana that's in October. And we have seen, there's a paper which is sort of early proposal of how this might be constructed. And they're talking about this trade settlement currency consisting of 40% backing by gold and the rest of it currencies. And the paper actually was not all that well put together. There were big areas of confusion, in my view. There were lots of questions raised in the whole thing. Now, it may well have been tidied up somewhat and some of these issues addressed, but it looks like we are going to see another attempt to get this on the agenda by Russia. And bear in mind that Russia has the chairmanship of BRICS.
Okay, it is on the agenda. It's actually going to be out by October. They will have the gold-backed currency, courtesy of Mark McGuire. So I don't know what he's talking about here. It'll be on the agenda. It's already a done deal. According to Mark, they will have the gold-back before the election. By October, it'll be rolled out. So I don't know why he's saying this. How Mark McGuire can get different information than him, I trust Mark McGuire. Alistair doesn't seem to understand a lot.
In 2024, this year, and is organizing something like 200 meetings to do with BRICS. These being meetings which are sort of progressing various elements of BRICS and so on and so forth. And there is no doubt that the membership of BRICS will be expanded even further. So I think from 10, we're probably going up to, I don't know. I mean, we could easily see it somewhere between 15 and 20.
It's going to 40.
So that's that I think is the extent of it so far. Your question basically being the move towards gold backing of currencies. I think there will come a point when the collapse of the dollar and Western currencies, because the dollar goes down, the rest of us will go down with it. There will come a point where both Russia and China will move from trying not to if you like, change the world in currency terms to protecting themselves from what's actually going on in the West. And the only way in which they can do that is to put their currencies on on a proper gold exchange standard. Now, whether they get it right or wrong from the start, I would have my doubts whether they will get it right. But the point is that Russia has the gold, apart from the reserves at the Central Bank of Russia. They've got two sovereign wealth funds which contain gold as well. And my information is that their total holdings are in the region of about 12,000 tons. Now, that's more than
25,000
the holdings of America. China, I believe,
65,000.
has accumulated very substantial quantities of gold. before allowing her own citizens to accumulate gold, which for which the Shanghai Gold Exchange was set up in 2002. Before then, it was an individual to hold gold in China. I think that by 2002, bearing in mind that we were talking about a bear market in gold, which fell from a high of $850 down to $250 in 2002, China, I believe, accumulated in the region of 20,000 tons, which it distributed around various government accounts. So you don't see it in the official reserves. Since then, I believe that she has accumulated more. She's got her own mine production, which has been running at anything between 300 and 450 tons a year. And on top of that, she has been importing doré from elsewhere to refine, and that doesn't leave the country. So she has been like a black hole sucking in gold from the rest of the world for some considerable time. So she can go on a gold standard tomorrow without any doubt whatsoever. But knowing the Chinese government, she will not actually allow proper convertibility. So we have to see how that actually works out. Now, the important point, Tom, is that if we talk about Russia, China, and BRICS, we're talking about 60% of the world's population, 70% of the world's population.
We don't care about the population. What we care about is how much money they have. All right, let's look at this one. This is the gold and dollar demand.
Sure, it's interesting to try to consider it. Maybe we can pull this apart a little bit. You know, not only is the metric or the measuring bar by which we're looking at gold price going down, because, as you explained, the dollar is actually going down. It's not necessarily gold going up. But also, when we consider the other side of that, how is demand also increasing at this point, and especially physical demand increasing at this point for gold as well? Can that be part of the explanation for the rise in the gold price?
Of course. Wow, it's all derivative.
Well, it is. And that's a very interesting point, because we've known for a long time that physical bullion has been migrating from west to east. China basically has absorbed an awful lot of gold, both the state with hidden reserves and also the people. Since the Shanghai Gold Exchange opened, somewhere around about 26 to 27,000 tons of gold has been withdrawn from the exchange's vaults. And that goes into jewelry and also bullion stored outside the system. And on top of that, there is bullion stored within the system. Beneficial ownership is Chinese citizens through their bank accounts. So the demand has been enormous. Now it is beginning to accelerate, and it's a number of unfortunate events seem to be coming together. The first thing to appreciate is that the China's household savings rate is 35% of its GDP. Now, 35% of China's GDP is the equivalent of $6 trillion. So you have to ask yourself, where do those savings go? Well, property, it used to go a lot into property. Basically, they used to, for the pension fund, quote unquote, they would just buy off-plan apartments in high-rise buildings in these new cities, and you just buy them and you sit on them. They may be empty, maybe put a relative in it or whatever. Eventually, you use it if you visit the city. But basically, that game is over. Property prices are now falling. We know that the whole of the construction industry is in dire straits in China.
So property values are going down. That's what's going to happen here. Stock market's going down. That's what's going to happen here. So everything there is a leader to what's going to happen here. We're not infallible, and even the Romans went down. So to think we're fine and everything's rosy, you're out of your freaking mind. So keep that in mind. But let him talk.
So what else? Well,
analyze.
it's the stock market, but the stock market has been a bit better this year, but that is after 3 years of bear market. Now, I can see some of the household savings going into stocks, but very, very limited, because you're not going to get the bullishness that you would associate, let's say, with the healthy market. So that's out. And this is why the $6 trillion, the bulk of it, goes into what are called certificates of deposit. Now, a Chinese certificate of deposit is basically a 3-year fixed deposit for individuals. And it's been going into those really for the lack of anything else. Now what's happening is that people are beginning to buy gold. So that 35%, $6 trillion equivalent, a fairly large portion of it is beginning to overhang the physical gold market. The reason that this can accelerate very quickly is that all Chinese banks offer gold accounts as well as ordinary yuan deposit accounts. Now, all you need to do is have the equivalent of about $70 in order to open one of these gold accounts. What the banks then do is they have to at least have some cover. I mean, I'm sure that they're fractionally reserved, but certainly not to the extent they are in the West. They need to have some cover, if you like. So as people open their gold accounts, then these banks have to go into the market in order to acquire gold. Now, they are actually very careful buyers. I mean, they don't necessarily go in and bid things up, but they will take anything that's offered to them, in effect. And this is why there is such a shortage of physical bullion in our gold markets, in the paper markets in particular. So it's a situation where now the prices are beginning to rise, going into new high ground. It's produced a sort of dichotomy in terms of behavior. In the West, until very recently, people took the advantage of these high prices, quote unquote, to sell their gold because they've been sitting on it for so long and, whatever. Anyway, they think, oh, well, we'll
just
get
a
out.
pet rock for them.
Yeah, but Tom, this is the sort of behavior that happens at the bottom of a bear market, and yet we've got it going into new high ground. But the Chinese households are taking a completely different view. They're seeing the price of gold in yuan rising, and they're thinking, we better have some of that. So you can see that there's a beginning of a stampede going into physical bullion, even after something like 27,000 tons of gold has already been acquired by the public in China. So this really is going to drain all the physical liquidity, so far as I can see, out of the West. And this is why the gold price is rising and rising and rising. The interesting thing is that the People's Bank of China has been selling dollars to buy gold. Now, I put it that way round because it is official policy to reduce dollar reserves, not only in China, but throughout BRICS.
All right, so what did he just say? The guy asked him, is demand also a reason for the price to go up, not just the dollar going down? And so he keeps saying it's the dollar going down, and now the guy just got him, because no, it's the demand by the Chinese people buying the gold, flushing out comex, and creating a higher price. So it is the demand. And why would they stop? It's a no-brainer. It's a lock. You cannot lose with gold. It's only going to go up because who the fuck's selling it? And the kicker is the dollar's going out, and all the other dollars go out. And if you're holding gold, that's your insurance. So why would anybody sell their gold unless they have to? I got to pay rent or something, or a doctor. I'm not selling my dollars or my gold. So I'm keeping enough dollars so I don't have to sell my gold on, but I'm buying as much gold as I can because I don't have enough, because I know the price is going to the moon, because the demand is going to raise the price. So I love when he says it's the dollar going down. So in other words, things So what he's basically saying, what she doesn't understand, is inflation is printing the money, which causes the value of the dollar to drop, and then everything else goes up in price because the value of the dollar dropped. There's not price increases going on. It's the dollar dropping in value, but the dollar's gone. It's already, okay, 99%. So this is not creating this gold going from 24 to 24.80. 2 days ago, it was 24.80. So it's not the dollar going down. At this point, it's all this demand, like I showed you on the Rolex and the mantle cards. It's the market demanding, the free market demanding more, so the price goes up. There is a method to my madness of why I did that video a couple of days ago on Rolex and the mantle card. That's exactly why. Very limited, high demand, high price. But wait, where's the high price on gold? Right? So the gold comex, simply put, is communism. It's the government dictating the price, not the free market. The Rolex and the mantle are free market. Whatever the market dictates, that's what the price is. That's how you get, $1 million Rolexes and $8 million Brady cards, because that's the free market. So why is gold there? Because that's the communists. That's the government trying to manipulate the gold price to keep the price down, because somehow they think it relates to the dollar, which I don't see any of the relationship. All right. But anyway, so did the dollar go up because gold went down $50 today? Guy's a fucking idiot if he thinks that.
So that's in accordance with that policy. But the important thing to understand is that China is selling dollars. That's actually what she's doing. But so what do you sell dollars for? Euros? No, certainly not. Sterling? No. Yen? No. So what you do, you go and buy real money with it. And that's basically what's happening. So we are seeing the first stage of a real macro trend whereby foreigners gradually move out of credit and go into real, legal, common law money without counterparty risk, which is gold. That, if according to the playbook, what then happens over a period of time is that the institutions around the world begin to recognize this more fully. Domestic institutions in America will begin to recognize it as well. So they will start getting out of credit and into gold. Perhaps, 10% of the portfolio at first, sort of idea.
Again, when he says credit, this is what he means. Why he is confusing everybody. The guy is, I maybe seen, I don't know. You're getting out of fiat money because of gold, which we've been talking about for 3 years, because this is being depreciated to zero and the gold can't be printed. So therefore the value is going to go up because this gets printed, and you need something to be the medium of exchange, which is going to be either gold or gold-backed currency. BRICS will be gold-backed currency. Not sure what we'll have here. And if he thinks that BRICS is going to wait till the dollar collapses and then say, aha, we have gold-backed currency, he's out of his fucking mind. Why would you wait? You would get it in play now and say, they have their choice. We're not doing anything with the dollar. We're just simply coming out with our new currency because we're BRICS. So he's got it all wrong. There's going to be 40 countries joining in October. They will have the BRICS gold-backed currency out. And I'm not sure what he's talking about. Sometimes, and he's wrong. They got at least 60,000 tons of gold, China, and Russia has about 25,000. They don't have 12,000 tons, unless they've been using some of their gold to purchase weapons for the war, which is what the British did in World War II. They paid gold for their weapons to fight. So maybe Russia's depleting their gold for the war. This I don't know, but they did have 25,000 tons.
So you can see how the strains on the system are beginning to build. And I think we're in the very, very early stages of it. I think this is something which is going to be really very, very dramatic. So a lot of the dollar crisis, if you like, will be because of these extraordinary demand dynamics, which are building up for gold, and to a lesser extent, perhaps for slightly different reasons, silver as well.
Mm-hmm. So then, Alistair, let's talk a little bit about how, this, in some ways, this movement has also grown on the open interest in the comex.
Yeah, open interest has risen very substantially. And I would take open interest.
Okay, I don't know what open interest is. I'm not into the definitions of comex and banking. Not my strong suit. I will look at it. This section, I don't know what he's talking about. He gets talking like the Riddler, and you're like, comex open interest. Basically, in a nutshell, what he's talking about here, and we're not going to listen because nobody will understand it, is comex. The interest is going down and being depleted, which means soon, with all the activity, they won't have gold and they won't be able to do the derivatives, and that'll knock them out of making it go from 2,400 to 2,480 to 2,400. So that'll go away. That's basically what he's talking about. Again, comex is not a store; it's a pricing mechanism. So it's the government pricing gold and silver, not the free market, as I just said. So I want gold at 2,400 and I'll do derivatives to get it down to 2,400. That's the idea of it. But now there's too many people buying it at 2,400. So they've screwed themselves. By keeping the price low, China's able to buy 60,000 tons and Russia's able to buy 25,000 tons. And India and Saudi Arabia and all these BRICS countries, central banks and banks are buying gold because it's so cheap. Everybody knows it should be at least 3,000. So when it hits this 2,400, there's all this buying going. Okay, I'll wait till they do their derivatives and then I'll buy it. And that's why it keeps going. So, let me explain something on this chart. All right, so if we look at the chart, market's closed. Okay. So look what happened at about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 24.20, and then it goes down to at 8 o'clock to 23.96. And then 10 o'clock happens, and you really don't have that big $30, $40 drop in derivatives because they know it's going to be bought. So in fact, at 10 o'clock, it goes down $5. And you're going, well, why didn't it go down 50 like yesterday? Because there's no room for it. Then it goes up. And then it really doesn't drop. It goes to 24.07 to 23.96. And now it ends right at 2,400. But look at 10 o'clock. You didn't have the drop. So the question is, why didn't we have the drop? Because they're playing derivative ball. Eddie Murphy. So they want to do a put option at 2,400. They're going to have to get it to 2,350, which they can't do. So they don't want to do the derivative today. When it hit 2,480, they got room to push it down because everybody just bought it. So now they sell it at 2,480 and they buy it at probably 2,440. And then they did one today and it got it down to 2,400 and then they sold it. And now you'll see it go up. So Monday, it'll zoom up again because now they're doing call options and they're saying, let's buy it at 24 and we'll sell it at 25. That's why you keep seeing it after a big up day, then you see it come down. It's the derivative play. It's not profit taking. It's not consolidation. It's strictly, I'm playing the options, and it's sort of like in football when the spread's too high, right? I see the spread. What was there games where I see a spread at like 1 or I see a 7-point spread and it's only 2. And so I jump on it because you've made the line. The line's not right. I don't remember the game, but there was a game where T-Max is 7. I got 7 points better, and it came in where they're only laying 1, and then I teased it +6, and I said it's a 14-point tease. I'm willing to lay 1, but I'm getting 1, so now I go up to 5. So that's the point of that. So when the comex, there's no room at 2,400 to go down because they'll get wiped out at 2,350. It'll never be there. So they're not. So now they did the sell option at 2,480, let it go down, and now they're going to do the buy option. They're going to do the put option, and they're in it low at 24 and watch it go to 25. So that's the game being played. It is a government set price fix. It is not free market like our Rolexes and like our Mantle cards. That's what we're dealing with. So it's a very, how do we have a fucking communist price fix in gold and silver in capitalism with free markets? Where's the free market in this? So that's what we're waiting for. And so that's what Alligator's going to talk about, is that how it's getting drained and drained and drained. And now Mark McGuire says it's all over. That's not what it is. So we got 2 different opinions by 2 different bankers. And Alligator, I'm really arguing with lately. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I thought he did at first. It made sense. But after listening to Egon and Mark McGuire, and then I hear Alligator talk like this, I don't think he's not an economist. He's a banker, but he gets out of his depth and he can't explain it. Oh no, it's not gold. It's not gold going up. It's the dollar going down. Well, today was the dollar going up, and that's impossible because you're fucking printing the shit out of it. It's worthless. Did it go from 1% to 2%, Alligator, because the price went down? So that's where you get him. He doesn't have a fucking clue. Hey, Luke. Not much. Well, we know it. This is what I'm talking about. We know it's a 2,400, which is fine because last week it was 23 something. We were hoping for 2,400. So remember, it was like 2,380 or something on Friday. This week it hit, got the 24, got the 2,440, got the 2,480. Even yesterday it was 2,479, and then it fell down at 10 o'clock. But that's what I was saying. 10 o'clock today, nothing happened. It happened at about 6:30, which is London playing the derivative game, helping out, I guess, also price fixing, but we know it won't last. So he's talking how China and Russia have all the gold and are coming out. He's confused too. Mark McGuire says October they'll have the gold back currency out. And Alligator's saying, well, yeah, they'll put it on the agenda at the meeting because they don't really want to do it. They just want to do it after the U.S. They don't want to be responsible for the U.S. collapsing. They want to let it collapse and come in, which makes no sense because if they wait for it to collapse, then what are the, you can't just throw it out there. So you got to have it out there, letting people get used to it, or we're all moving to Zimbabwe where they have gold back currency. So yeah, it's, but it's still 2,400, which is, it's fine. We see 2,480. We know that's where it's headed. It's headed to 3,000. It's headed to 20,000. So keep that in mind. So let's, I don't know. We'll listen to a minute or two of Alligator, but he's got well, let's see what else. I don't know. This gets a little choppy. This whole comex conversation is very, I don't know what he's talking about. We'll listen to a minute or two.
And I would take open interest as a very, very rough indicator of the degree of overbought, oversoldness in the market. I say very rough because you have to qualify it somewhat.
What did you say, Luke? The dollar isn't yet totally worthless. When the printed 40% of the total M2 money supply after COVID, that was a biggie. I don't understand your comment. The dollar is worthless. When they printed 40% of the total M2 money after COVID, that was a biggie. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not worthless. What can you buy with it? $5 for a bag of Fritos, and you think that's got a value? Um, I mean, the Nazis kept printing in 1923. They printed $1 billion a day, which back then was a lot of money, and it was still worthless. They kept that's what they hyperinflated. That's why you needed a wheelbarrow full of money to go to the grocery store to buy a milk and bread, because it was worthless, but they printed. So I'm not quite sure I'm following your 40% after COVID. I mean, as soon as Biden took office is when I ran for gold. Um, so I don't know what to tell you there, but just because Venezuela prints a lot of money, Zimbabwe printed a lot of money, Indonesia is printing a lot, so is India, so is Japan, but that doesn't mean that the dollars are worthless. Yeah, as soon as you see that wheelbarrow, and as soon as you have the paper in the wheelbarrow, your money is worthless. As soon as you see $10,000 bills, your money is worthless. So all I can say is, I'm telling you, it's worthless, regardless if they print or not. They should. It doesn't matter if they print or not. You've printed it past the point of no return. It's worthless. You didn't keep it limited. It's not limited like the 50 count cards or the Rolex watches. That's limited, and you didn't keep it limited. So it's blown up. It's worthless. What can you buy with it? Yeah, you can still go out and buy some gold, and you can go buy a car like you did. But it's really, you just got lucky that you bought it. But 2 years ago, you'd have bought the car for 20,000. I know the Camry I bought it at 24 in 2018. It's now 35, 30, 35, and they can't sell any. And I explained to the guy, I'm at the Toyota show, and I go, "'Cause here's your market and here's your price. How the hell, who are you going to sell it to? You can't be over market. The market tells you what you can sell it for. So they can't sell any at 35, or they lowered it to 30, but that doesn't mean the dollar, because they printed a lot, has a value. So let's say it's 99%. I'm just assuming it's 100% worthless. I know that's where it's headed. And I'm just saying, fuck it, it's 100% gone. All right, maybe it's 99% gone. Big deal. I mean, Venezuela, there's hyperinflated, but they still print, and you can't buy anything with it, but you use US dollars. I'm sure the Venezuela dictator uses US dollars and gold. He has gold, but everybody with Venezuela dollars can't do anything. And then what you end up having is a lot of black market, like the Nazis. And when I watch Hogan Heroes, that World War II show from the 60s, they talk a lot about black market. It's funny, they talk a lot about black market, and they talk a lot about everybody going to Argentina. So they knew a lot of the Nazis went to Argentina, and they used a lot of black market because they knew their dollar was worthless. And I know Hitler switched out dollars in one of the episodes. We're switching from dollar A to dollar B. It's because it's inflated to nothing. So you'll see these new dollars, like Japan. Obviously, they're done. They use new dollars, 10,000, 5,001. Canada is getting ready to introduce new dollars. We're introducing new dollars, and the euro is introducing new dollars. That means it's zero. Nobody will realize it but us, that means you're fucked. And the new one won't be worth anything because it's not backed by gold. If it ain't backed by gold, it was worthless in 1971. Look, put it like that. As soon as you don't back it by gold, it's worthless. And you can see gold goes $37 an ounce, and then now it's 2,500. So that's exactly what I mean by it's worthless. Technicality, okay, it's 99% gone versus 100% gone. But what can you buy with it? I mean, you sell tennis rackets. What's the cost, in 1971 with Rod Laver and Jimmy Connors and Johnny Mack, and now what does the tennis racket cost? You didn't raise the price on the rackets, the dollar went down. And the same thing with golf clubs, and the same thing with the football tickets. I went to a Michigan Ohio State game 1973, No, that was the 10-10 tie. This would have been 75, I believe. And Ohio State won 21-14. And the tickets were $3. I had, my brother was a student, so he got me student tickets, and it was $3 for Michigan, Ohio. Well, the whole book was $3 a piece. Now you can't get it for that, but that's what the inflation is. And your brother now sells it for whatever, he gets a couple grand for what Ohio State, Michigan is, whatever you said, 5,000 a ticket. But that shows you the value of the dollar. It's worthless. So keep that in mind, that since it's not prices going up, it's the dollar going down to zero, which is kind of what Alligator tries to say about gold, but he's not right about it. That is also demand, like the Mantle card, like the Montana rookie. That is not the dollar going down. That is the demand for the card going up. All right, let's see what he's got to say.
What we've seen recently,
I'm not sure we can follow him.
Yes, the managed money category, which is mainly hedge funds, has become more bullish. Now, you've only got to look at the chart, and you've got to look maybe at the recent weakness in the dollars trade weighted index to see that for a hedge fund, there is an argument to sell dollars, buy gold. I mean, we're talking paper transactions. So yeah, that has increased. But the position certainly on the last commitment of traders figures was not actually that overbought. Overbought a bit, yes, but not alarmingly so. Now, I think it's probably become somewhat more overbought. The thing that's interesting is that a lot of the increase in open interest has been because of spread activity. In other words, this is entirely neutral. Hedge funds and also the swaps have taken advantage, if you like, of price differentials, which have arisen for whatever reason between, say, different maturities, different strikers, whatever, in order to you buy one, sell the other. It's an arbitrage, if you like, to try and take something out of it. Now that is neutral. So quite a lot of the increase in open interest is in effect neutral. And I think that this is something which is probably not all that well understood. I would see that this market can get quite a bit more overbought. But I think the real issue becomes one of the mark-to-market losses, which the swaps, and by this really we're talking about bullion bank dealing desks, are facing. I mean, if you look at the losses between all the swaps on current prices, current positions, you're looking at somewhere between $60 and $70 billion spread around less than 30.
So I'm not quite sure what swaps are, but I believe it's the people that lose on their, as I was explaining the options. So if you were to take if Eddie Murphy was going to put this option at 2,400, there's a strike price of, let's say, 2,350, and you'll make money and you got to sell it. You got to buy it then. So you got to buy at 2,350. You're selling it at 2,400. But if it goes the other way to 2,450 and it never gets to 2,350 by the time it expires, and most of them do, you then lose the option and it costs you a lot of money. And that's what he means. So there were, whatever he said, $800 billion or whatever in the swaps. Those are bad options. They sold them. I don't know why they keep selling them. And I don't know if they would just buy them, but they want to keep that price of gold down. I think it's so China can buy it. Really, I think that's the real game, is China wants to keep the gold price down to buy more. They have it all. They got 65,000 tons. So it's probably them keeping the price down, and they keep buying it at 2,400. And then as they buy it, it kind of goes up, and now it's, it'll get to 3,000. And eventually everybody, all the other players are buying it. So that's, I think, what happens. But again, he's like Mark McGuire with the ring fence. Like, what are you talking about?
reporters, as it were, within the category. Now this is, I mean, that's an average. So within that average, there are bound to be some which are quite a lot more. Now, I can just see, I mean, having been a director of a bank, I can see how the boys from the Treasury Department start knocking on the door and say, look, this is alarming, dealers. We don't like this position. What are you doing? What are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. And they will have already done that several times and been fobbed off. Sooner or later, the Treasury boys are going to knock on the door and say, we're closing you down. Close your positions now. Now, what that does is it creates a further raft of paper demand, because where they're short, they've got to go out and they've got to buy those positions. So it's, in essence, quite a lot of this we can describe as a bear squeeze on the swaps. The other thing that's interesting while we're talking about this, Tom, is that the participation of the producers, the producer and whatever category, you know, the producers, refiners, and all the rest of it, in that professional category, in the past, they have hedged their forward production quite materially into the comex market. They're not really doing that anymore. And if you go back to the last time we saw prices peak, which was back in 2011-12, typically the producers were short of around about.
All right, I'm losing him. I don't know what he's talking about.
Alistair, I think there's another piece of demand that I think I'd like to explore with you as well, is this idea of a turnaround in ETF demand. Is that also providing another outlet or another source of physical demand for the metal?
Yeah, it's a very good point, because really for the last 3 years, people have been winding down their ETF holdings.
And putting it into
this is
physical.
sort of consistent with what we were saying earlier about how in the West we're still selling gold. Now that is basically seems to have stopped on a net basis. And the last two monthly reports from the World Gold Council have indicated that the ETFs outstanding are beginning to rise again. But I mean, we're talking fairly small quantities. But there is no doubt that as that trend continues, and it will do with the price of gold going up, because everybody's out of it effectively. And institutions will be buying gold through ETFs in order to gain that exposure. Then this.
But I thought he said you can't get gold with ETFs. They're just paper. You can't take delivery on it. So I don't know what he's talking about here, but that's my point. Why would anybody buy ETFs thinking they have gold when you'll never get paid off? So I think he's delirious.
This is going to put a great squeeze on the market. It is inevitable. When you've got the market already cleaned out by the East, you've got further demand, as I say, coming in from Chinese commercial banks. You have the prospect of a new BRICS currency, all these factors. And then on top of that, if you get demand from ETFs, which I think is a very easy thing to forecast, it's going to happen, isn't it? Then that's just going to make the situation somewhat worse.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like all of this upward momentum is in a lot of ways unstoppable at this point because of all of these different sources of demand. Is there a part to this as well that once, family offices and these managed money funds really start to see the outperformance of gold, that they are in some ways forced to end up entering as well?
Well, yes, they're bound to. And probably for two different reasons. The one reason is a question of portfolio weightings. If the sector, if I can put it that way, commodities as a whole, and therefore gold, which is actually representative of commodities, goes higher, and at the same time, other sectors like tech stocks or whatever start going lower, and this is an interest rate story, really, then under those circumstances, yes, you're going to get suddenly a lot of demand. And I would have thought that one of the sectors that will really reflect this is the mine sector. I mean, already you've seen some toes in the water being put into the sector. The majors are being bought. I think the next thing you'll see is M&A activity, whereby the majors, need future production, and there are no big gold mining prospects, coming on stream, and so they will start fishing around the minnows, particularly minnows which are close to where they are, and therefore logistically it's very easy to expand their operations into their territory, etc., etc. So all that sort of activity is going to happen, and I think this is where you get some real money made by people who know what they're doing within the sector. Of course, the other problem, Tom, is that no money is being invested in by brokers in mining research, so they're going to have to start from virtually square one. It's the consequence really of a sector being unfashionable for decades, in effect.
So he's talking gold and silver. The mines have to be upgraded because nobody's doing it because there's no demand for these, and the price of gold is not going up enough. And silver, obviously, they don't have any silver mines. And then the cost, because of the inflation's going up, but the value of the gold is not going up enough. So they can't do machinery and equipment, is what he's talking about, to get more gold out. They need new equipment, but they're not going to do it. And I looked at Newmont yesterday, and they don't have their stock went down to 29, and they were having negative earnings per share. How the fuck can that happen? But that's why nobody's in gold mines, because their earnings suck. Their costs have went up, and so basically it's good news for us, because it's going to be really hard to get gold because the mines aren't producing what they normally should. So what's out there is it. So they were talking, all I know is, and this is my warning to you, buy your gold and silver as soon as possible. A, you can't lose. It's a lock. B, only gold that you're getting is when people come in and sell it. And as Alligator said, they're selling it at the beginning of the bull market. This market's going to 10,000, and these idiots are selling their gold at 2,400, thinking it's a good price because they don't understand it's a paper price. And we want to get to the physical price, which is what Russia and China are going to do for us with comex. And that's it. But my fear is that, in a year or so, people will be flushed out of their gold at these cheap prices, 2,400. We'll be fine because we're holding ours. We're holding for that 20,000, 25,000 mark and even higher. We're holding it until the dollar's worthless. But at that point, will our coin store still have gold for us to buy? Because nobody has it to sell them, and they aren't getting it from the mint. So the problem is right now, if people didn't sell them their gold at 2,400, I couldn't go in and buy it. I'm buying the other person's gold. That's the problem. So if that doesn't come into the store, and now I got my 15 ounces of silver I want to trade for gold, there won't be gold there, because unless somebody sells it to the store, he don't have any. And where's he going to get it from? Is he gonna buy 100 ounces of gold at 20,000 an ounce? No. So that's going to be really difficult to get, is my point. So right now we think everything's rosy. We can buy our gold. We can go to the store, or you can go on some of these sites or eBay, and it's available. And what I'm saying is that's not going to last, because there's only 250,000 tons, and I guarantee you, it's all out. Maybe there's 1,000 tons left. It's all out. It's gone. It's all spoken for. So there isn't that much left. So it's not like there's 250,000 tons just sitting there and we can, I'll take my ton, or in my case, I'll take my 3 ounces here, my 4 ounces there. That's what you got to worry about. If you don't get it now, you're going to be kicking yourself, because not only it's only 20, well, it costs you 2,500, and you can get quarter ounces and half ounces. And I highly recommend that. I can grab your ounces, but still, okay, 650 for a quarter ounce. I'll do that. But the way the demand's pen up and the way the dollars are going out, there's not going to be available to buy. So if you wait thinking I'll wait till the end, or I'll have time, I can go to the store. If there's any there, it's going to be 10,000 an ounce. So like I said, back when, as soon as this whole mess started, I bought like $10,000. I got 8 ounces. It was like 1,500 an ounce. Now, if I get 10,000 and I want gold, it's going to be 2,500. I'm going to buy 4 ounces. And pretty soon it's going to be 5,000 an ounce, and I'm going to get 2 ounces with 10 grand. Then the 10 grand won't be worth anything. And then I won't be able to pay with cash because they won't take it. So gold will be the money. That's the bottom line. That's how we end the story. The dollar goes out, the gold has so much value. You're buying houses and Rolex with it. And very good. That'll be the key. That's the home run. So that's what you must understand. So if you keep waiting, I can't help you when they run out, because it's a very limited supply of gold. It comes out of the ground and that's it. And 250,000 tons, but there's probably, let's say 3,000 tons left of all the banks already got it, right? They're already, China, 60,000, Russia, 20,000. Everybody's got their gold already. There's not 50,000 available. There's, like I'm saying, maybe 2,000 tons available out of the 250. And that's for the whole world. And as the dollars start going out, like Japan's number, they're going to be one. Indonesia is going to go out second. BRICS is acquiring gold for the gold-backed currency, and that's why all the countries want to join. There'll be 40 countries joining in October, I believe, from what I read. And so you can't afford to wait, because the price is going up as the demand goes up, and it's very limited that you're going to be able to find it. So I can still go to my store. He's got 5 or 6 ounces, some 1/10 of an ounces, whatever people are bringing into him, I can buy. But silver, it's still, you can get, but he's getting sloppy silver now. Mr. Luke, I put 16,000 down on the car and financed 17 grand at 6.5%. Is the system going to implode and you think we won't have to pay back debt? I don't like holding debt, so I was planning and paying it off quick. Well, that's okay. So let's follow this. Let's use logic here, Luke. So you owe on the car loan dollars. And what are we saying? The dollar's going out. So the dollar goes out. The question is, how long does that take? And I would think within a year, but maybe 2. How are you going to pay it? What do you owe? Now, the real question you're asking is, this dollar goes out, what are they replacing it with? USD number 2, like the ruble's on the 7th ruble, and then will it convert to the USD number 2? And will all the debt convert to that, is the question you're asking. And I don't know, because if the dollar's gone, you can't pay it off because the dollar's gone. It's the replacement. Are the banks still going to be here? 292 banks are in big trouble. So Bank of America is ready to go out. Comerica is having trouble. So the question will be the new medium of exchange, and will you owe it? Will it go to 0 and then reset? Your house is going to be worthless. So let's say you own a $500,000 house. It's now worth 0 because the US dollar is gone. So you can't price it in dollars. That's the key is the dollar goes out. You can't, everything priced in dollars goes to zero because there is no dollar to value anything in. Now, what do we do? Now, if there's a gold backed currency, so now it's a gold backed dollar, then you would probably pay it back with these gold backed dollars. I don't know. Again, I think you'll probably have to pay it back. I'm not sure because I'm hoping I don't have to pay my credit cards back because let's say I owe 10 grand on one. Well, if there's no more dollar, I can't pay them. Oh, sorry. And then what happens? Does it? Oh, well, we're going to go to. My guess would be they would go to whatever USD2 is, which if it's not backed by gold, it'll be worthless anyway. But I don't really know because this is new area for us, right? What happened in Nazi Germany in 1923? Although they didn't probably have credit cards back then. Put it this way, in Zimbabwe, they went from the Zimbabwe crap dollar to the Zimbabwe, the ZIG, the gold-backed Zimbabwe. Now they converted it at the bank. So if you had 40,000 of crap dollars, you converted it to 40,000 gold-backed dollars. Now, was that used to pay your mortgage and your credit cards? This I don't know. I'll try to do some research on it. I know you don't want to have that. If it's locked in, you don't have to worry about interest rates going up. Because if it's a fixed 6.5%, which I think you did, if it's fixed, you don't have to worry. Even if everything collapses, the worst you'll do is 6.5. How they convert it to the new dollar, does it go to zero? Because if they wipe out the dollar, they wipe out the asset and the debt. So the $36 trillion we owe, if they just say, well, you know what, we're going to just wipe it out, all the assets that go along with it get wiped out. That's why the house goes to zero in the car. So that'll be an interesting thing. I'm not sure. I would pay it off, but I understand your thing. But if your 6.5% is locked in, then I think you'd be okay. I don't think I'd pay it all off now, but I wouldn't pay, if your monthly payment is whatever, $800, I wouldn't start paying $3,000 a month towards it. If you have it, I would keep it. But that's a good, the asset will go to zero in the dollar that collapses. That's for sure. Bitcoin goes to zero because it's priced in dollars. Everything goes to zero and then it gets priced in the new currency or gold. So I would not pay it all off so quickly. Maybe if you want to feel more comfortable, pay 8,000 of it down right now and then, 09 or something. That's a big fucking, I can't imagine what 33 would have been. On my Camry, I paid zero down. They says, what are you going to put down? I said, why should I put anything down? So I had a $470 a month payment, and in 2.5 years I paid it off. Because I paid like $700-800 a month. But I'm like you, I don't like the debt, but that's okay. You don't have to pay it all now. So I would kind of see what's going to happen. I think your real question is, first of all, those would be inflated dollars. So the 17,000 that you're paying is really going to be like 8,000 soon. The value of the 17 goes down, it becomes worthless. So you're paying them back in inflated dollars, and that's good. And if it was me as your financial person, I would say, well, what's your monthly payment? And I buy gold with the rest of it, because your return on gold is going to be much more than 6.5%. Your payment of the car, yes, you don't want it, but you can use the money. And that's the point of like a 0% loan is I can use the money without interest and get other investments. So I think I would buy gold with some of that. Maybe if you want to pay maybe $7,000 off in 010, and then the rest of that money you buy 10 ounces of gold. Well, we both know you're going to make much more than 6.5% on your gold. And then, so then if you need it to pay, so let's say you do that. Let's say you go buy 10 ounces of gold and the gold price hits 3,000 and you just made a nice little chunk of change. Now you sit there and you go, well, if I need to pay the car off, I only need a few ounces of gold and I could pay it off. So I think I would play that game. Since we know October brics, gold, and the gold price going up, I think I would put some in the gold and some into the car and figure the gold will help me pay off the car if I need it. Or will it go to zero? We know the value will go to zero in these dollars. It's what happens next. Will they transfer it over to USD number 2? And if that's the case, then then does it go even money or what? I don't know how they're going to calculate prices. I don't know what they're going to do at grocery stores either, especially if they go to gold-backed currency. Tuna's $4 in this shit. In gold, it's probably 1/10 of an ounce. So that's what I would look. I take from my brokerage account, from my gold, silver miners. Yeah, I mean, I would just be in coin and fuck the miners. I saw Newmont went down to 28, now it's back to 40 something. So I hope you bought it at 28, but I was in it at 65 and it went down to 28. I'd have been pulling my hair out. It's just not a popular thing. That's how stock market works. It's just an auction site. So if everybody wants this stock, then it goes up. If they don't, it's nothing you can do and make it go up. But if you're banking on the gold price to go up, you got the gold anyway. So I would transfer some of my money into gold. And then if I need to, I can use it to, okay, I'll cash in an ounce to pay the car off or your house or whatever. That's kind of how I would do it. Gold isn't easily liquidated for large purchases. Yes, it is. I'm telling you, you can go to my store and he will, what do you got? 10 ounces? He'll give you 25,000. I mean, it's not a problem at the store I go to. It's a coin and jewelry store. I'm sure you must have those where you live. So I don't really, I don't see the problem with it. Where are you trying to liquidate it? I mean, at worst case, you can go on eBay and put up 10 ounces of gold and sell one at a time, like we see these auctions, and sell it that way. So I don't really understand that. It's the most liquid thing you can have. So, I don't know. How long is the stock market going to last before the stock prices crash? How long are the banks going to last? So you want to sell your stocks, you sell your stock. Is the bank even open? Is the dollar even there? And then you get the money and you pay off your note. But that's the question I have. That's the question I have with the Bitcoin people is it's in dollars, not in gold. So you want to, okay, the dollar goes out. Now what are you going to do with your Bitcoin? Well, I'll sell it. To what? Will the banks be around? What's the bank going to take? It's in dollars. They don't take dollars anymore. So let's go back to old Rome. What did the Romans do? Once they took the gold and silver out of their money and inflated this shit, what would they do then? How did they use it? I mean, the money's worthless. Nobody wanted it. The Germans came in and killed them. So you got to be careful. We know the dollar's going out if it isn't already. I argue it is, but people don't know it yet, so it still has a value. But I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't buy a T-bill and expect in 5 years you're going to get paid back. By whom? So I don't get the liquidation part. It's very liquid. Everybody loves gold. And if you can't have a jewelry store in your area that will buy it, I would simply go on eBay and sell it. You can sell it and, put a 1-day auction out there. Just look at what it's going for and sell it. So, like in eBay, so we're on eBay. Here you got a maple leaf, you got an eagle, 24.92. He runs a 7-day auction. It's the same guy, it looks like. 25.29. So what do you want to, put it out here for 1 day? This is the price target, and I'm sure it'll sell very quickly. So this is the better way to do it because you get more money. However, if you want to go to the gold store and jewelry store and sell it, my guy will take it, no problems asked. He'll look at it. Oh, it's an eagle. Yep, it's fine. There's 10 of them. He'll cut you a check for 25, 29 times 10, $25,000. You'll have it in 5 seconds. Then you go to the bank and cash it or just deposit it in your account and then do your car payment. And there you go. So I really don't get your concern about liquidation. You keep bringing it up and I really don't. It's very liquid, but you got to go to the right place for it, right? Go to a jewelry store that sells gold coins. He'll buy it from you because that's his inventory. It's like selling the Mantle card. You probably want to go to a card show or on eBay to sell it. So if I want to sell a baseball card, I can try a card show where I know there's a bunch of dealers selling. So he's going to buy it because he wants inventory. And if it's a good card, believe me, you walk in with that Montana rookie PSA 10, you'll sell it to somebody, probably not for 125, but I'm sure for 90. If you just wanted to take 90 grand for it and it's 125, you'll sell it in 5 minutes. Somebody will buy it, a more of a major store, but if it's a graded 10 Montana rookie, no problem. But you got to go to a card show or on eBay to sell it. So I don't know where you're having problems with selling your gold, but it's a piece of cake. I mean, really, like I said, I go to my guy's store and he's always got gold that he's buying from people and he's putting it out and I'm buying it. So he wants the inventory and he can't get it from the mint because they're all done. So I don't really get why you're having fear of it, but that's, you know, there's where you sell it, right? There's a half ounce 1309. If you got the Brady card, $7 million. All right. So enough with the alligator. Let's go to Mark McGuire today. So Mark, I don't think I liked it. Yeah, I didn't like it. So Mark McGuire's guest is this guy, Rob Kieses. He's another idiot.
Drive 50 miles east of Silicon Valley, California, and you will see. If you're looking at where you are, especially.
All right. All right. So Mark McGuire has Bob Kinson, who he's an IT guy. What the see? They don't bring on economists. They bring on salespeople or IT people that really don't know how to explain it or really what it is. That's always my problem with them. So there's not a lot that we know. Let me see if there's some brics announcement chapters. All right, let's see. Physical goals, impact, and future.
You have to, you have to do the walls. You have to get everything going.
Yeah.
But look, obviously, none of this could happen without gold, without physical gold, really leveling the playing field. Really, you're going back 100 years basically, and you're bringing gold back to where it always was. It was always real money. It was the only form of real money. I think without gold, it would be a very difficult. I don't see how it would work.
Yeah, gold is really going to be the linchpin. It's funny, even in the CBDC system, they're backing it with gold. That's Project Quorum and UnitFoundation.org, which is a Russian, two independent Russian researchers produced that. But they're recognizing both sides of the pond that gold has to be a part of this system. And their plan is to eventually remove it from the system. And that would remove honesty and integrity, and that would remove natural limits as to the growth in power and in bureaucracy. And our system, however, it doesn't. It puts gold at the forefront, and it says you can have electronic components on top. You can do all of these things, but gold is always going to be centered there because gold is natural limiter on government growth and power and tyranny.
Corruption.
And also, gold tends to balance portfolios, but from a monetary perspective, it's been the one that's allowed the best of our society to flourish. Back when gold was money, we had some of our biggest, I would say, moving into industrialization, and the scientific discoveries we had were really under gold. And if you look at the fiat system now, the fiat system rewards rent seeking, it rewards malinvestment, and it doesn't reward necessarily the advancement of society. Gold does that better than any other thing we've used as currency or as money. And until we find something better than gold, we should stick with it. And what we're seeing around...
There is nothing better than gold. Why would he make that comment? The reason gold's good is you can't print it, you can't inflate it. You can inflate it with paper like Comex is doing, but physical you can't inflate. That's why it's the best thing to have. What else are you going to find? You got gold and you got silver. They come out of the earth. You can't really copy them or print them. That's it. That's why they're worth something. Keep your eye, like I showed you on eBay yesterday or the day before, this fake silver, and you can tell by the price. So be careful who you buy from on eBay. If it's some guy named Ling Wang and he's got zero, likes, zero, positives after his name, don't buy from him. And if the price is supposed to be $40 an ounce, 5 ounces is $200, it's going for 120, it's probably not good. Because if you have real silver, put it this way, if I have real silver and I'm going to sell it, I'm selling it $40 an ounce. I'm not selling it at 22. Why would I sell it at 22? I bought it for 28 or 30, but it's worth 40 now. So why would I sell something under value? So keep that in mind. There is no substitute for gold and silver. That's why we buy it. There's no other option. Yeah, diamonds are not money, and rubies and sapphires, the Mantle card and the Rolexes, they're still not money. They're good assets. They're not. Gold is the shit, right? There's nothing else besides gold. So I don't know what he's coming up with. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
The world now, Andy, is everybody's getting involved in the gold markets. You're seeing the development of the Dubai market. I've been told recently that someone may ask me to go work in Dubai to be a part of that gold movement down there. It's a company that's establishing gold storage programs and things for very high net worth investors. And that could be an opportunity where I go, back to the cradle of civilization, and where gold is very important.
Dubai is the
China
cradle of
also, the Shanghai
civilization.
development of the Shanghai. And I think that there's a movement away from some of the derivative paper-based markets into more physical-based markets that you see in the East and the Middle East. And I think that's in preparation for what everybody knows is coming, which is the failure of the dollar. So it's no surprise that gold is coming to the forefront. It's always been what we run to when stuff breaks down, and it will be again. And it's those countries and those cultures that recognize that are going to do better going forward and be able to control inflation.
We run to it because the fucking dragons or the governments get us off of it because they can't steal. If you're on a gold standard, you can only print as many dollars as you have gold, because you must be able to back the dollar with gold. So in other words, if I have $1,000, I can go to the bank and say, I want $1,000 worth of gold, and they have to have it. That's the gold standard. That's the gold. You got to be able to back your money by gold. But the governments can't print and can't have their wars and can't steal all the stuff. And Biden can't have 8 houses if there's a gold standard, because it's limited to as much gold as you have is as much dollars as you can print. And that's why we went off, because Nixon was printing for Vietnam and the social programs, and he had to build roads and all this bullshit. And he ended up printing more money than he had dollars, so we had to go off the gold standard. But they don't stick to it. That's why we get off of the gold standard, is because they can't steal. JP Morgan has the printing. That's why the central bank comes in. They print the dollar. You give them a fucking monopoly on printing dollars. What is that? That's insanity. Why would you give a monopoly? It wasn't like that in the 1800s. There would be 3 or 4 banks that printed money, and they would compete with each other. And so you'd have the Van Gogh Bank and the Picasso Bank and whoever, and they had to keep our inception. We're on the gold standard. We got off, I think, for the Civil War because we needed money for the war, and the wars cost more than the amount of money you have from the gold. That's the beauty of gold is no wars, no inflation, no unemployment, and no interest rates to fuck you with. Right. So you always know what the dollar is going to be worth. You always know it's gold, and it's heavy productivity. And the reason you get off of gold is strictly the politicians, the lobbyists can't pay them money because they have to have amount of money that the gold will cover. And crooks who are running the government can't do that. So they can't just, JP Morgan can't just print $1 billion, put it in his pocket. That's why we don't have the gold standard. And that's why when these idiots print too much and ruin the currency, we go back to gold, because gold, you can't inflate it. Right? It's if I have my ounce of gold, nobody can take it from me, and you can't inflate it and lose its value. It can only go up in value, especially when you value it in dollars, because the dollars will always go down in value because these idiots are corrupt, will always print it. So that's why we get off of it, and that's why we run back. But if you're smart, you just stay in gold, and you never get out of it. So when you can start saving and buying gold, you buy gold at 10 years old, and you just hold it, and eventually it's going to be worth $1 million, because the corruption in the government takes you off of the gold standard, and then you're on. And then the dollar collapses, which happens every time. And why do you think China and Russia are buying gold? China's been buying it since 1980 because they know what's going to happen. They don't know when, but they know the dollar is going to collapse and the euro is going to collapse, and they're sitting there with 60,000 tons of gold. So they're not stupid. All right.
Be able to grow. And the other interesting thing is, when I was at PDAC, we talked about this last time, but when I went to PDAC in March, I talked with companies out of Saudi Arabia that were saying that Saudi Arabia is encouraging the entire economy to invest in mining and in resource development, because they know they're getting out of the petrodollar, but they know that they need to develop their gold reserves and they need to develop their manufacturing capacity. So think about what I just said. Using gold as a way to get out of their declining oil trade and get into a manufacturing
building-based economy. When do countries do that? They do that when this fiat bubble system is getting ready to burst, because how do you repair that and grow out of it? You become a manufacturing or a product or a development-based economy. And so you're seeing that around the world. You're seeing China's already done it. The Belt Road Initiative is taking all of those resources and saying we need to develop, the next step of our economy, and we're putting gold at the center of that, the forefront of that. And gold's always been that. Until we, invent something else, it's going to be gold. And the digital currency, as much as I like them, participant, they don't do it. The central bank digital currencies are designed to do the opposite. So where are you going to turn to if you don't turn to gold? Gold has to be the epicenter of it. It's really the only answer.
Because you can't inflate it.
The only truly fungible medium of exchange.
Fungible, huh? Fungible is the same. It's replaceable. So I don't know what he's talking about. Gold is the answer because you can't inflate it. You can't print it. That's why you go to gold, because it's the most demanded. It's extremely limited, and it's extremely demanded, and it's extremely undervalued. That's why we go to gold. Nobody can fuck with it. So the 5 properties of gold is it's got to be portable, which it is, scarce, which it is, divisible for small exchanges, which it is. There's 1/10 of an ounce, quarter ounces. Fungible is the same and replaceable. So I'm not quite sure what Mark McGuire is talking about. Accepted, which is what kills Bitcoin. Gold is accepted everywhere. And then durable, well, it's indestructible. So gold's the man. Silver is pretty durable. So it's gold and silver, which are the money. So as gold gets too expensive, people will it'll drive them to silver, which will raise the price. All these solar panels and electric cars need silver. It cannot be, like for the solar panel, it's silver and that's it. You can't use copper or aluminum or anything else for the solar panel. So you have to have silver. So the demand is through the roof for silver. Gold, the demand's through the roof because nobody wants to hold dollars. So really the price is going up because of demand, because nobody wants dollars, as well as silver. As gold gets really high, people will go into silver because silver is money, same as gold. And then it's also the solar panel electric cars, because this whole bullshit culture, it's getting warm outside. Yeah, okay, that never happens. So the whole culture thing, and that's what creates this bullshit solar panel and wind instead of electricity. Yeah, let's get rid of electricity. We'll have solar panels. What if it's not sunny out? Well, so what? What if it's not windy out? Well, I guess you won't have any electricity. So let's hear these idiots.
It's accepted anywhere in the world, from the tiniest Solomon Island to the
there you go, Luke. Why are you having trouble with it?
It is because every single bit of energy that ever went into producing a piece of gold that you're using as a barter of exchange is in it, and it can't be debased, and it's the only truly fungible asset that cannot be debased. Everything else can be debased.
Okay. Debasement is when you take the gold out of the coin. So yes, it can be debased because that's what the Romans did. They took the gold and silver out of the gold and silver coins. So I don't know it can't be inflated, maybe he's trying to mean, but they don't understand the difference between debasement and inflation for some reason. And what was the other thing? Fungible again, it's I don't know what he's talking about. It's the same. So it's always gold. So it's the only fungible thing. Again, it's like, what is he talking about? All the gold's gold. It's the same thing. A bar or a coin, it's all gold. It's okay.
Yeah, it can be, and it has been over time. And even when you get gold into money, they debase the currency. So there have to be standards in place which define what gold is, what money is.
Again, it's inflation, not debasement. Debasement is taking the gold out of the gold coin, taking the silver out of that's debasement. What a bunch of chuckleheads.
That's part of our legislative efforts. and it's a part of awareness. It's, you know, back during the Great Depression, I think people figured out what things were worth. And I refer to that because my parents grew up in that generation. People understood what things were worth. And now we're in the fourth generation since that. And people are getting back to basics because the lifestyles they're able to live, they're not able to live anymore. They were kind of false lifestyles driven by expanding money that's now collapsing and breaking and causing all this problem around the world. And what are people getting back to? The basics. They're going back to the basics of life. They're going back to the
Yeah, whatever.
What is happening is that the de-dollarization process has ramped up enormously. Now, I think if we go back to what happened the last time there was a physical shortage of gold, a physical shortage of silver, was in March 2020, when there happened to be a COVID lockdown, and overnight, bang, $100 premiums to buy back your short hedges, so-called hedges, for what you didn't even have to deliver in the FX market.
Yeah.
So $100 premium. Okay, it was a bailout. It was bailed out, one thing and another. But what is to stop China, the BRICS nations, and certainly we've got October coming, when there will be a launch of Brezhnev's-esque currency.
So we listen to Alligator say, well, it's on the agenda. And here's Mark McGuire saying there will be a launch in October. So who's right and who's wrong? I trust Mark McGuire more than I trust Alligator right now. Alligator's been acting really weird. But Mark, so I'm going with in October there will be, and there goes the gold price to the moon.
But what is to stop? With all these sanctions coming on board, with what is now openly what looks to be, I mean, it's not possible to
this is Mark McGuire.
Win against Russia. It's a lose-lose situation. If you want to start a nuclear war, then you may beat Russia and it will blow everyone. We'll all be dead. But the pivot is actually moving from Ukraine to the Chinese doorstep. The pivot is happening, and you can see it happening. And the sanctions are starting, and even Trump is going to increase those sanctions. Now, do you think China has a nuclear option, a financial nuclear option at their fingertips? And if one day we wake up and there is no physical available to the Western markets, and the EFPs are jumped on for supply because they broke once before, and it happened to be COVID. Now you get a shortage, and what you're just talking about, guys, you sitting on the sidelines, you could wake up to $100, $200, $300. You could wake up to $3,000 gold before anyone can be happy about the price. And I think, again, silver, why wouldn't it be 50? Gold is making all-time highs. What you're dealing with is a synthetic marketplace where the only central bank globally that is short physical gold, short gold, is the Fed, because it's their hegemonic. The only central bank that is actually still trying to cap the price of gold against the dollar. Every other central bank, even European central banks, even the Bank of International Settlements, have got rid of their derivative positions. And to me, this is amazing to me. People are actually saying, I wonder if the price will come down. Well, what the hell? I mean, just get in there, guys.
Yeah, especially during the summer, you have it.
See, that's my point. You won't be able to get it, and you certainly won't be able to get it at 2,500. This is like the red flag now. It's like you better get in, and you better get it now. Now, I always am 5 steps ahead of the game. That's how I do everything. So I'm thinking, and I'm what if like chess. You move, this move makes this move, and then he'll do that, and you'll do that, and boom, boom, boom. And so with gold, that's why I use the Titanic. It hits the iceberg, the water comes in, the ship sinks. Get to the lifeboat as soon as you hit the iceberg. Don't wait for everything else. And we've hit the iceberg with the dollar. They printed the hell out of it. There's $150 trillion out there, which I don't need to tell you is massive. That's what the inflation is the printing, and it won't go backwards. It'll only go forward. And inflation is not 2, 3, 10%, because you can't measure inflation in percentage, because a house value and a car value and a Coke value and a shirt value and a tennis racket value are all different, and they all have different percentages. So there's no way you can just say inflation is 10% or 5% or 20%. Inflation is printing of the money, and the money's been printed to death. The dollar's been printed to death. So it's just a matter of we're ahead of the game. We know that's happening. So we know the ship's sinking. So we get to the lifeboat, which is gold and silver. And that you don't need to wait for it. You know the ship's sinking because of all the dollars printed. So you just get the fuck out. There's no reason to what are you waiting for? This isn't a stock. This isn't like Bitcoin going to 60,000 down to 50,000 and then I'm going to buy. This is gold. It doesn't do that shit. Gold only goes up once we get rid of the fucking comex. So I'm not understanding Mark McGuire saying, do you think it's going to go down? And he's like saying no. But then what did we see? 2,500 go down to 2,400 the last few days. What was that? I mean, so the U.S. is doing it. We know, but what is it? It was done before the U.S. was up at 5 a.m. by Europe. So London's still doing it, but it's running out. But that's the point of it. You can't wait on. This is not a stock. You can't think like it's a stock. Well, Microsoft went up $20. I want to buy it. I'll wait till it comes down to buy it. You're going to miss the boat. The boat's at the dock going, but it's the gold boat and the silver boat. You either get on the boat now or there ain't going to be room. Once the frenzy of the gold, everybody realizes dollars are worthless. I mean, you're going to wake up at 3,000 wishing you'd have bought it. Now, you will wake up at 3,000 soon. So you don't need to wait till it hits 3,000. You buy it now knowing it's going to 3,000. So you're confused because it's been all comex derivative pricing since 1971 or 73, let's say. So you're confused going, well, gold doesn't move. And yeah, because it's price fixed by the government. It's communism. We control the price of gold and silver. And that's what's breaking, where the government won't be able to keep controlling it. Then it goes to free market. And the Montana card's 125,000, which I bring up because that's free market, or the Rolex watches. And that's what gold should do in a free market, not in a communist price fixed by the government market. So that's the difference.
I'm afraid, but long term it will not go down. And essentially, you're right. That's why I said the COMEX and LBMA are eventually going to cease being the center of the universe for gold and silver pricing. You've already got intervention through HSBC, for example, for China and Hong Kong into the Western markets. JP Morgan is helping China build their commodities, helping them expand their gold and silver. So the banks are agnostic of where the financial centers sit. They're going to make money either way. And it's the financial power is moving east, as you said. And you can see it in the political landscape about America and NATO and those Western-based entities attacking all these competitors, trying to keep them from rising. But it's inevitable. You're not going to stop China from rising to be the largest economy in the world. It's their time. They made all the right choices. We made all the wrong ones. Well, boo-hoo. That's what happens when you continually screw things up. We just have to accept it. And yes, there will be a time in which we will have no access to gold and silver. That's a good point that you brought up that I didn't mention. It could be a point in time when your local coin dealer has none except for what's in his safe. And when he's out, he's out. He's out and he cannot get it. And the point about the pandemics in 2020, look at what happened to gold and silver price when that was a momentary shutdown in the economy. Look at what happens when you talk about a Great Recession or Great Depression. What is going to happen then? Gold and silver are going to go. Look at what's happened to the prices without the U.S. public buying gold and silver. They're already reaching new highs.
We're buying it, boy.
All-time highs in gold. And they've broken through that magical $30 barrier that the CFTC, as the regulator in the American markets, put on silver. And now they can't hold that anymore. We've broken the CFTC's control of the $30 limit in silver that Rost and Benham came out publicly and said that they did on purpose in public. So the Western markets don't control it anymore. They don't control it. They influence, but don't control. And it's moving east. And there will be a point in time in which we don't have it. And the EFPs and the TASs and the block trades that you have on COMEX, all these ways of working around that system to get liquidity are not going to work. And it's going to go force majeure. Contracts are going to break. There's going to be a huge announcement. We have to shut down the markets. It's going to be a gold and silver run. The run won't be at your local bank. It's on the COMEX markets in the U.S. It's on the LBMA. That's the way those markets work. And then where are people going to go? They're going to go where liquidity is. They're going to go east. And all of a sudden, those are going to become the markets. And if you're thinking about buying gold and silver in the U.S. or the U.K. or Europe right now, you want to do it now because you're going to have liquidity issues. We've seen that run off of the warehouse stocks. And all it takes is one shock to drain everything. And if you get a shock in the system where people are afraid and they're going to gold and silver, they're not going to go sell it back on the exchange. Forget that. They're going to hold on to it. They're going to lease it. They're going to rehypothecate it, or they're going, to keep it. And there going to be a point in time in which it's like nickel. There is no nickel, right? Look at what happened to nickel. It went no bid. You'll see that in gold and silver. You see vertical pricing. And then where you're going to get your pricing, you're going to go to Shanghai and say, give me your price because you're a physically traded market. Go to Dubai, you're a physically traded market. Those will be the pricing mechanisms. And that's it's changing already. You can see it in the data. It's been clear as day the last 4 to 5 years, maybe longer for you, Andy. You've been following us for a long time, but the last 4 to 5 years, you've seen that dramatic shift in how these markets work and who's participating and what they're going after. And that coincides with the rise of CBDCs. Why are we going to have CBDCs in the U.S.? Because we don't have the gold. If we had gold, why in the hell would we do CBDCs? We just rebalance to gold. We don't have the gold. They're not going to be able to run it out of Fort Knox or below, in New York, in the New York Fed. It's not there. It belongs to someone else. So if you're in the Western world, you better get it now. And like I said, the back half of summer is the best time seasonally to do it. This is the time, the next 6 weeks to 2 months until about mid-September. If you're looking to get in price-wise, this is your last great entry point. After this, even next summer, we're going to be in so much crisis. I do not expect the seasonal trade to affect gold and silver that much next summer. Yeah. I think we're going to be in like an extended COVID type of situation where this goes on for years. Yeah. And, and I keep saying this and keep people saying, Rob, you're crying wolf. No, it's a process. And we're at the point where that whole system is breaking. And, if you're watching this and you're thinking about making a decision, I always say, do your own research. I'm not your financial advisor, but man, are you running out of time? There is no time. There is no tomorrow in this type of situation. There is no tomorrow. Today is tomorrow. So you can't control what happens tomorrow either. So better act today. That's always been, my advice.
A bird in the hand, worth two in the bush.
Hanging on to the old paradigms and saying, well, and I thought this was really interesting. This is from Citigroup. And it's just becoming apparent. This is the same bank that is projecting $3,000 gold.
Yeah.
Saying gold bellwether relationship with the U.S. real interest rate has broken down quite spectacularly over the past 2 years, with gold reaching all-time highs despite real rates. I mean, wake up, guys. For those people, this is the argument I get. Oh, yeah, but hang on. When you weigh up the whole picture, throw that old paradigm out the door, because the physical prices, the physical market is now being settled outside of this paper world. And so essentially what you're doing is each time, we see it all the time, in intraday, you see little bits of correlation intraday, and people think, oh, it's still going on. Step back and look at the bigger picture. That has gone. In fact, since 1st of January 2023, when gold became reclassified as a first-year asset class, why would you not be invested in zero counterparty risk first asset gold when your only other that competes directly with the U.S. Treasury, which has nothing but faith? So this is what we're seeing. But people are just waking up to the fact, hang on, gold's rising, and it's completely dislocated from the old paradigm. And I think so to those people that still look at that and look at the price is coming down to 2,000 because the moving averages are there. Moving averages, historical moving averages, nothing to do with the real market. So to me, it's amazing. And this is half the time I spend. Just hang on, guys. Give your head a shake and look at this with fresh eyes.
Yeah, I think so. And you can get worn down by the wait is long, but you have to look at longer term time frames, look over several hundred years of history. And that's where you get your education and you understand. Don't be stuck in the last 20 years. If you get stuck in the last 20 years, rarely is that a way to make good long-term decisions. Making good long-term decisions is looking at the long term. And certainly if you're just living for tomorrow, you're never going to be prepared for what's coming. And you or living for today, sorry, you do have to live in today. But it's helpful to take a little bit of your time and think about the future and prepare for these types of things. And we're at the end of an epic of worldwide fiat paper currencies they're all going to burn down to the ground. And we're going to go back to what we know, because the alternative is scarier and worse. We don't want. There is no other alternative. I don't understand where else people think that they're going to go. Why most of the hedge fund traders in the U.S. have not just piled into gold like mad is beyond me. What the hell are you looking at in treasuries that tells you that a year or 2 years from now that's going to benefit your firm? What is the general stock market sitting at all-time high, even though the economy is a dumpster fire in the U.S., is telling you that U.S. equities are the place to be long-term? Why wouldn't you go to emerging market equities? Why wouldn't you go to gold and silver? That's where the value is over time. I think the existing financial infrastructure in the United States and the existing financial knowledge in the United States has been too focused on the last 20 to 30 to 40 years. And they're going to get a lesson, and it's going to be a nasty and hard one, that you just lost the long-term game. And the power of your portfolios just got destroyed. We're going to have so many bankruptcies and bank failures. It's going to make people's heads spin. There was an article that came out that 292 banks in the U.S. are in serious trouble. I think Bank of America was part of that reporting. There were other sources. Bank of America was part of that reporting. They're a bank, and they're one of the ones in financial trouble. And there were 292. We haven't even gotten to an official recession yet. This is going to be a bloodbath in traditional finance. Where are people's heads? Where are the financial houses? Where's the financial media? Are you guys nuts? Your whole lives are wrapped into a system that's burning down right before your eyes. You're going to go to treasuries? Like you said, China, all they have to do.
Well, like I said, it's not on the menu to go into gold. So the financial advisors are only selling paper products, stocks, bonds, real estate trusts, annuities, because that's what they get commission on. So it's not in their best interest to tell you to buy gold, because it ain't on the menu. There is no gold square, gold box. Yeah, this is where I want to put my money. So that's why they're doing it. They're making their commission, and most of them are idiots. They don't know they're salesmen. All right.
Dump a bunch of their treasuries, and that market collapses to zero. It will go no bid zero. No bid meaning nobody wants it. Not that you don't have any, you have too many. Nobody wants it. Nobody's going to put in a bid for that. What does that do to the finances of the Western banking system? It craters it. And you're right. And if they don't have gold to offset that, they're in trouble. It's going to be a cascading financial collapse.
Yep.
And the only way to go is to what has historically worked. It's to gold. And I would say emerging market properties and stocks and businesses that may have value, that are going to be in growth stages and that aren't burdened by, stupid policies and, trillions of dollars of debt and that kind of stuff like we have, especially in the U.S. And for anybody in the U.S. looking at this situation, if you're looking at where you are, especially in your younger generations, and the system is broken, why would you put $1 into anything involved in this current? It's not going to serve you. That dollar is going to be whisked away to somebody else, and it's going to make them money. You want to be on the other side, be on the winning side. So go educate yourself and go understand finance beyond 5 to 10 years. Understand the long-term picture. Understand the history of it, and then go make decisions. And then you can sleep well at night. I've got gold in the vault. I can sleep at night, Andy. It disturbs me this is going on in the world, but I haven't jumped off a bridge yet because I have that gold in my pocket and that silver in my pocket. And I have a mission to educate and help other people. Everybody that's watching this, protect yourself. Protect yourself. Do what makes good long-term sense so you can sleep at night. Don't be the victim here. They're going to be victims. Don't be the victim. why would you want to be the victim?
Yeah, you're talking about action points. You're talking about solutions here. It's just it's one thing to realize there's a problem. But what we're talking about here, what you're talking about here is you have an action point. You, in other words, we're talking about taking personal responsibility for yourself.
All right, we know that, Mark. That's what we teach here. So really what he's just, it's what I'm teaching. You're getting out of the paper Titanic and you're getting into the lifeboat gold and silver. It's got nothing to do with long-term, short-term bullshit. The dollar's ending. They're printed it to shit. Gold can't be printed. It's a very easy, basic assumption. You're being smart and you're getting out. It's sort of like Joe Burrow got hurt last year. Are you still going to bet on Cincinnati? No, things change. So I'm getting out of Cincinnati and I'll be on Cincinnati. I'll be on Kansas City or I'll be on San Francisco. So things change all the time, which we know from football, right? You get the injuries and the coaches move, quarterbacks transfer or trades. Russell Wilson's on Pittsburgh. So you adapt to what's happening. It's not a long-term thing. You're playing what it is now. The dollar's gone. You printed 21 trillion fucking dollars and 130 trillion dollars for the petrodollar, which now doesn't need it. So nobody needs dollars to buy oil. They can go and use whatever they want. And so that's it. So all the dollars are coming home and all the inflation will be huge, which is again printing the fucking dollar it makes it worth less. That's what inflation is. They keep calling it purchasing power. It's inflating. You're inflating the dollar. That's why it's inflation. You're printing it. You're printing too much dollars, right? You've overprinted. It's worthless. That's it. Stop making it more than it is. And so what do? Well, if I keep holding dollars, a depreciating asset, it goes to zero. Why the fuck do I want to hold something worth zero? Why the fuck do I want to hold this going to zero? I don't want to hold any of this. This is the problem with fiat currency, or as Alligator kept saying, credit. The fuck? You can't just say fiat currency. It's enough to learn that it's fiat currency. Now you want to say credit? So just think when he says it, it's dollars. So you're getting out of dollars because it's worthless, because they printed too much. And we can ask our Roman friends and our British friends and our French friends, what happened to their currency? They printed it and inflated it and they went out. And that's it. That's the bottom line. And you're in gold because you can't print it, and it's the most desirable asset to have. It is real money. That's why you're in it. It's that simple. Don't make it anything harder. The problem is it's been price fixed by COMEX, which apparently, according to Mark McGuire, it's going out. And now we will get to a physical market, which is what we want, is a free market, physical market, not a communistic government-run market, which is what we have in COMEX. Basically, communism. That's how communism works. We price fix. That's why it doesn't work. You got to let the market. The Rolex at $200,000 is what the market says. So you can't. Oh well, we'll keep it at 50,000. That doesn't do any good for anybody. The guy who has it, and then the people buying it are like, well, I don't want to buy a Rolex. That hurts Rolex. It's keeping people from buying gold because they don't think gold goes. Oh, look, gold went from 2,480 back down to 2,400. Oh, I don't want to buy gold. And they're missing the point. It's 2,400 now. It's derivatives doing it, not anybody selling it. And it'll run right back up. And he's saying 3,000 on its way to 20,000, on its way to it being the dollar, not the dollar. That's long-term thinking. But you need the gold in your hands, in your possession, to survive and to keep and to make a lot of money and keep your wealth. So if you keep 300,000 of this shit in the bank, because it's monopoly money. But if you turn it into gold, 300,000, you're going to turn that into 300. You turn it into 30 million. How about that? And now, well, it won't even be that. It'll be then higher than that. Like I said, you'll buy a house with it or a car with it. So that's the point of gold. It's going to go so high because everybody loves it. It's acceptable. You can't print it and inflate it. It's very limited. So, it's like my 50 count Mahomes card. There's only 50 of them. It's limited. The price cannot go down on it. It's Mahomes. It's only going up. The only way this Barry Bonds, the reason Barry went down, this is a beautiful gold label, and the reason it went down is only 100 is because of the steroids, and the demand for him dropped. So as long as you have a limited supply and a huge demand, the price goes up. It's when the demand stops, like Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire and Clemens, because of the steroid bullshit, because they did it, the demand went away, and that's why their prices went. But the demand for gold will never go away. The demand for the Rolex and the Montana rookies and Mickey Mantles will never go away. So that's the difference, because they're already done playing. Well, Mantle, rest his peace, and then Montana. There's nothing wrong. He's already played. He's already fine. So there's no way the demand for those goes down. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron. If you can find a Ruth in a DiMaggio, buy him. But I don't. How many Joe DiMaggios can you find? I think there's a Gaudy, but I don't even know. Maybe he's in 1 or 2 years of it with the war. I don't know if they were making baseball cards or not. So anyway, that's what you got to know. So that's the thing. Alligator is weird. I agree with that. But this was Mark McGwire, the last guy. The guy before him was Alligator. I'm a mate now. Nothing. I'm teaching. We took. So let's end it on the baseball note. Again, Philly 3 units. These games are just starting. Philly 3 units. The Yankees 3 units. Toronto under 7.5 2 units. The Mets 3 units. St. Louis under 8 3 units. Baltimore under 7.5 is 5 units. Kansas City 3. Houston and 3, and the Bo Sox over 8.5 against the Dodgers. I went over 8.5 because they both can hit for 3 units. So again, biggest bet is Baltimore under. They got 2 aces going. It should be a low scoring game. That's the method of my madness. So anyway, we're counting down, and I think next week football, the Hall of Fame game. I think it's Chicago and Tennessee, and then we start getting into the preseason. And one last thing, so I was watching a Franco Harris thing today on ESPN or on YouTube, and they drafted him, 1972 as a rookie, and he gets this long run against Atlanta in the preseason. This is going to be easy, 75 yards. And then he plays his first regular season game. And he said, I think he played Oakland or Dallas. And he's like, this is not preseason. Either the difference between preseason and regular season is huge. And so keep that in mind when you see the guys in preseason. Just ignore it. But I do agree, Caleb and all these quarterbacks should be playing at least a half of every preseason game. They got to get used to the speed of the game, the timing with the receivers, the timing of the defense, how quickly the defense gets there, how the secondary covers. You're not fucking learning that in practice. I don't know what they think they're doing. So if they're not in there, they're not going to be ready. And there's, as Franco said, and then it took him like 4 or 5 games, and he fumbled, and then he didn't play for like 3 games, and the other guy got hurt, and he finally got out there. And that was it. And he said, I'm never going to get benched again. And he never did. But that was the 72 season. So I'm just saying there's a huge difference between preseason and regular season. Even a bigger difference between practice in the preseason and the regular season. So these coaches that don't want to play their guys in the preseason it's ridiculous. I mean, they at least got to get their timing down. And see a real game situation. It's not like college, and then the first week they'll get blown away. I don't know if Caleb will complete 5 passes his first game. When he sees Tennessee, pretty good defense. When he sees this, he's in serious trouble against He's not ready for it. He couldn't handle Notre Dame and Oregon and Utah. I mean, he's got no chance. Anyway, so I think that's about it. So I think we got the point. Buy the gold, as we've been talking for 2 years on. It's starting to come to a head. We hit 48 or 2480. Soon we'll hit 4800. We hit 2480. It got derivative back down to 24. There is no profit taking. There is no consolidation. It's strictly a derivative price, fixed price market. It's government run. It's government setting the price, not the free market. So you got to understand you're getting into a communist system, and we need to break it off. That's what JP Morgan does, is monopoly and price fixing and all that. He's just a crook. He makes Bernie Madoff look like a good guy. But as you can see, it's all getting blown up. And here comes BRICS with the gold-backed currency, according to Mark McGuire in October. According to Alligator, I'll take Mark McGuire's word for it. Alligator, I think he's becoming senile. He doesn't make any sense at all anymore. So anyway, that's what we have. And it's just, we're ready. You just be prepared for it. You don't know when it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen, right? You know the sun's going to rise. You don't know when, although we do know when, but you know the sun's going to rise, and you know the sun's going to set. And so you can bet on it, and you can bet on gold going up. There's no issue with it. We know it's going to happen, but it could happen very quickly. Like you said, there'll be a bank holiday or something. They'll close comex, and that's the sun. When they do that, then it opens back up at, oh yeah, it's now 10,000 an ounce. And you're going to be fucked because you wanted to buy it. You can't wait. This is not a stock. You cannot wait to catch it on the way up. It ain't going to come back for you. So this is probably your best opportunity. Yeah, it might go down to 23.75, maybe, on its way to 2,500, on its way to 3,000. But if you know it's going to go to 3,000 and it's going to go to 10,000, then what are you waiting for? Again, I'm not a salesman. I'm a teacher and an analyst and an economist. So I don't have any skin in the game for you, but you, right? It's the right play. It's what I do. It's what Luke does. It's the way to play it because you know you can't lose in it. It's a lock bet. It's like playing poker with pocket aces and the flop comes 2 aces. You're probably not going to lose that hand, right? And that's basically what you have here. You're not going to lose it, and it's not going to go back down. It's too much. It's comex, it's BRICS, it's comex breaking out. It's the physical being limited and the demand being huge, so the price must be huge. So just understand that concept, and you're fine. And that's all I can say about it. It's you can't print it, so you can't inflate it. And this have been fucking inflated to death. These are worthless. What's the dollar buy you now? Nothing, right? The dollar won't buy you shit. You can't buy a coffee with it. You can't buy gumballs. I mean, there's what sells for $1, right? You can't even buy a 2-liter pop, which was 99. You can't buy a 20-ounce pop. It's $2.50. Used to be a dime. That's the point of it. You can't buy fruit and vegetables for $1. So basically, that's the sign. Again, it's because the dollar is losing value, things cost more, right? They're not really raising their price. It's the dollar losing the value that makes everything cost more. But you are screwed around because you think, oh, they're raising prices. No, they're not. The dollar's dumping and you need more dollars to buy it. That's really what's happening. But who's going to understand that? But that's exactly what's happening. Anyway, so I will see you tomorrow morning at about 11 and see what other, maybe Egon's got a video out. We'll look at baseball. We just did week 1 of football. Maybe we'll do a conference. We did the Big 10. We did the Big 12. Maybe I'll do the SEC again. You can never get enough SEC. Or maybe we should do the Sun Belt Conference because, in all honesty, this is really where you make your money is the Sun Belt, right? This is the moneymaker, betting on Appalachian State and James Madison. and betting against Lou Monroe. That's really where you make your money because nobody knows these teams. They're all betting on Michigan and Alabama and Ohio State. And there's a lot of money to be made in Sun Belt. So maybe we'll talk Sun Belt tomorrow. We will see. Anyway, gold's done. It's 2,400. It is done for the weekend, and we'll be interested in Sunday night about 10 o'clock. Asia opens, and you can see it. Other than that, I think that's it. I'm going to take my Daria picture. And we're going to call it a night. All right. Call it a night. Any questions, comments, please feel free to do it. I'll wait another minute or two. Don't be afraid. That's why I do it live, so I can answer questions. And I got to update my ERAs. All right, everybody, time for dinner. I had a good lunch. I had the Chinese buffet, which is okay. A lot of chicken, and that's about it. So everything else is good. Off to the lake soon, I think. Sunny out, and it was pretty cool out, so that's good. All right. Have a wonderful day. See you at 11 tomorrow. And again, so the football, it'll be a class just like this. And we'll go through all the games and then all the picks will be in the class and it'll be private. The free one will be, sort of like we talked for baseball. But it's the idea of the baseball picks will be football picks, and that's what it'll be a private class on. So you have to pay the $25. I get your email. I go into private and I say, email. These people can join the class, and anybody that pays will join it. But I won't give the picks out in free because people are paying. They pay for the year, they pay for the month on the site, so I can't give the picks away here. They get a little upset, like, well, I'm paying for the picks and you're giving them all out free. So to solve that, we'll do classes where you can still talk to me and you can still go to the site and buy them. But we're getting close to football, and it's exciting. All right. Well, have a good time and have a nice night, nice weekend. I will talk to you tomorrow. All right. Take care, everybody. www.teaserking.com. Your Austrian economics and football handicapper rolled in one.